but the thing is that they don't understand what it is, and that's where I sort of come in, and that's where I unfortunately, you know, I'm a I don't like fights. I don't like, you know, spiritual wars. That's not my thing. But you know, people want to have spiritual wars with me because they feel intimidated by it. You know, because like, wait a minute, you're telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, well, actually, yeah, I am. In some way. Well, it says this, but I'm like, yeah, but it actually doesn't say that. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Not in the original language. And so I think people get nervous about that. Intimidated by it because they're like, you know, this is my bread and butter. This is what I always build my whole occult practice on. But the thing is that, yeah, well, you know what? If anything, you should be thankful and say, okay, now it's going to get you. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's the whole thing. So, and I find that in some communities, there's a lot of that sort of like deep fight, ego stuff, and you know, it's tough. You know, it really sucks. I try to teach people these things. I'm not looking to be their competitor. I've never tried to give people who know me, who know my goals, but I never do that. You know, I want to show people, but people get offended by it because they're like, wait a minute, you know, you're saying it means this, but I'm saying what it does. You know what I mean? So there's always a little bit of an ego thing going on here. All I want to do with that information, everything that I present, we looked up. Okay, you can look it up, you can find it out for yourself. There's nothing there that you can't find out for yourself. The difference is that a lot of people don't know where to go. That's what I bring to the table.
TalkShoe Live. This episode is being recorded and streamed live on TalkShoe.com. You are joining the online studio. You are unmuted and can speak with the host. Recording started.
Experience and some knowledge of those languages, and which you can learn online. And so that's where I stand with that.
Okay. Well, I got everything back up and running. I don't know how that's going to work. But let's see if we can retrieve anything. Cross our fingers. There are some questions I see. I know. Lost all those too. Okay, this was one.
Yeah, it's just a lot of chit chat going back and forth.
Well, there was one question earlier in the chat, so I'm gonna throw that at you, Baal. And that question was, what is the natural antithesis, in your opinion, to the Semitic occult? I know that's a broad question. That's.
Well, actually, the antithesis of Semitic occult resides within Semitic occult.
That's right.
That's the whole thing. It's like, you know, there really isn't anything that you can do that is not found somewhere. Well, obviously the Norse stuff, and you know, obviously that's different. But from the Western tradition, there's nothing you can do that is not somehow wrapped up into the Semitic occult in some way.
That's right.
You know, so you know what I mean. So it's like even in the Goetia, you have, you know, all these spirits that, but they're actually wrapped up into the Semitic system. So the Semitic system is its own perfect enemy. And so there really isn't, you know, one that I could say, okay, this is against the Semitic. No, the Semitic is against its own self.
And let me ask you this, Baal, in your opinion, just how much of this path, I know in working magic, how much of this, in your opinion, is perception, imagination, and and applying, tapping into your subjective realm. Because how much, when we're working a lot of these magical rituals, or we're working a system to make a connection with demons, spirits, and these different terms we use, in your opinion, from experience, how much of this is subjective?
Well, I think that any good magic or any good prayer or anything for that matter, it's always going to be subjective.
Okay.
Because, and the reason why I say that is because not that the spirits are necessarily subjective in themselves, but the way our understanding of these spirits project themselves will always be a little different. I mean, for some people, they see these spirits as one way or the other. And so there is a very large subjective aspect to it. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
And the reason for that is because that's the best way it works. It works so much better when it is subjective, because that's why I'm always very suspicious of documents that say, okay, this spirit is going to come to you in this and that form. And that's why I try not to use that in my own work, because I feel that, maybe that's how they portrayed themselves to the medievalists, but they may portray themselves differently. I mean, I know some occultists that they do portray themselves differently to other people. So subjectivity is a very big part of it, but just to clarify, subjectivity does not mean inefficiency.
Right.
Subjectivity is just as valid as anything else. So if I see a particular spirit in a white cloak and someone else sees it in a black cloak, it's the same experience. It's just working with our own understanding,
right,
our own place in the moment. So I think subjectivity is vital, and it does not detract, but rather it adds
right
our ritual.
And then another thing
But isn't that what the sound mind? Oh, I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead.
But isn't that within? But that subjectivity, isn't that still within the framework of a sound mind?
Well, I guess the next question is what is a sound mind? The question is, what is a sound mind? What is the classification of a sound mind? Some people who, I guess, let's use the term, that are of unsound mind, may experience these entities in a very aggressive way. And the question is that, is it any more or less valid from someone who is of a sound mind? That's a very good question, and it's one that is very hard to answer, because, again, sound mind, unsound mind is such a complicated thing. Because some people, they do speak to spirits, they hear them, they feel them, they see them. And
exactly.
To the modern psychologist or psychiatrist, one would say, "Oh, they're just delusional," and the other,
schizophrenic.
"Oh,
yeah,
they're psychotic." So the thing is that that's the whole thing. It depends how it's happening and who's interpreting it. You know what I mean? So that's such a tough question, and I wish I could give you a black and white answer on that one, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, it could be completely different for.
that was great. That was great, because you're right. That's why I asked the question, because I just wanted to see what the answer would be, because I have found that in my readings and listening, is that who can really judge that? You're right. Is who can really say that, because as you just said so perfectly, that people can hear. People do experience. People may think that the voice is in their mind, or whatever, it belongs to them, or they know it's not them, and that it's something else that's telling them to do something. So
right. Good point. All right, so I just want to let people know it looks like everything is stable for the time that we have left. Again, retype your questions. The phone line is back up and running at 561-962-1137. I want to throw something in there. One book that we use frequently, Brother Baal, and we've actually done rituals and incorporated some of your mantras from the Kali Mantra Magic book, which seems to be a very popular book. Question I have, and I know you have books on the topic, how important with mantras, obviously the tone, the sound, vibration, frequencies, in your personal work, how have you incorporated it? I mean, have you reached higher states of consciousness with it? Have you tapped into working with some of these energies / spirits, demons via your mantras? If you can elaborate a little bit on that.
Sure. My policy is always to write on things that I have experience with.
Right.
I never write on anything. And I even say it in some of the books. If I don't have experience in it, I'm not going to write about it.
Right.
And so I constantly, I mean, it's one of my staple practices is always to use mantras. I love them. I love the vibrations of them. And there are some things that I have not published that I use too, where I use sort of Hebrew mantras as well. And there's, you know, there isn't really like a quote unquote Hebrew mantra tradition technically, but I sort of transliterate certain things and I will use it as a mantra form. I find that they're very effective because really what a mantra is, you know, it's not necessarily something that we can translate.
Right.
Some mantras have translations, but some of them do not. Some of them are basically just sounds. And so it's really, mantras are sort of like a sound therapy of some sort. So, and what they do is they create this energy around the person who is reciting the mantra. And I've had many, I mean, countless. I have my own personal journals that I haven't published yet, but just to mention, mantras are a big part of my practice. And I'll use them even for my stuff that I'm using that is more Kabbalistic, because what I'll do is I'll turn the angelic names or the Hebrew names into a type of mantra. So Samael would become a mantra.
Right.
Lilith, and in Hebrew would be Lilith. So I like in my latest book, in the back of the book, I give a link to a part of my website that has the meditations and rituals in the book, and some of them are in Aramaic. So actually, if you go to the back of the book and you click that link, you'll hear me reciting Aramaic incantations, you know, in their original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so if you go to the back, but the first one is the unification of Samael and Lilith, and the key term is Samael veLilith ke'echad.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is Samael and Lilith as one. And that is very, very powerful mantra. If you could say it in the original. And I say it right there in the video. So go to the back of the book and you'll see the first meditation there's a link right there. You just click it goes right to my site. And it says literally, Samael veLilith ke'echad.
Wow.
And people have been emailing me saying, oh my God, that relaxes me. It makes me feel, you know, almost spaced out. And that literally means Samael and Lilith as one.
Wow.
And that's great because they are the epitome of the klipot of the Sitra Achra. He is essentially the top, she is the receiver, and they're just working with each other. They're literally like a closed loop.
Mm.
And so when you when you do that chant, when you do that mantra in Hebrew, you'll feel it. I mean, trust me.
Right.
People are I have emails all over the place telling me, "Oh my God, that's like the best." And all those other meditations are in Aramaic and Hebrew, so you may want to take a look at those as well.
Definitely. All right, I got 2 callers here on the talk show. Let me try to plug them in.
Sure.
This one is 907-440. I'm going to bring you in. That's the number it shows. 907-440. You there? Hello? 907-440. Are you there? Okay, nobody's speaking. All right, let me go to the next caller. Stray Panther, can you hear me? Stray Panther 79. Stray Panther 79, can you hear me? Hello, Stray Panther 79. Man, this thing really tripping out. Hello, Stray Panther, can you hear me? Stray Panther 79, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I got you.
To the phone. I'm at work.
Oh, okay. Did you have a question or no?
No, I didn't have a specific question. I was just listening to the show, just taking notes.
Okay, no problem. Well, we appreciate you listening there. All right, cool.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back on the other side and deal with this craziness. All right, we got a little bit more time. Again, anybody that's this side is back up. The call-in number 561-962-1137. I'm gonna scroll up. I know now you guys are typing back in and see if there's any questions. If you got some questions, you might want to type them in, get them over because I lost everything. So I've literally started from scratch when it came back up and running. So, but everybody's enjoying the show. I mean, a lot of you guys are typing. Great show. Everybody's giving you a hello, warm welcome. And I'm sure he appreciates that. But let's get some questions over here too. What else we got? Okay. This is just people still piling in on the other side. Let me go back over here in the chat. Don't really see anything in specific other than just comments on a great show. They're enjoying the topics, conversation. And again, if you don't have the book, I'm going to also show it up here for those watching the video. Again, this is the book here, the new book that we're talking about. And again, I know a lot of you who are familiar with Baal Kadmon. He's got many books out. This is one of many. This is his latest, though. And we've been talking about, majority of our conversation tonight has been about his new book. I'm about halfway through it, but I keep cheating and jumping around and going to the back because I can't wait to kind of get to the back part. But I mean, you got to take it in. It's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, you get drawn in when you start reading it. And I think, and as I told you, Baal, and sent you a message, I think it's so diverse that anybody on this path can utilize it, regardless of what particular system you might be, into.
Right.
It's actually can be applied on any paths. All right. So the other thing I wanted to ask real quick, since we have a few minutes, and we're gonna have to obviously get you back when you get it when you're able to. I didn't even hear some of the calls that got cut off. I lost 12 calls as I'm looking here that got disconnected, and didn't even hear what Velvet had to say. Did she get cut off too?
I answered, but I don't know if she got cut off or not.
Yeah, I would have kind of liked to have heard what she had to say. I know she posed a good question, and I know you were talking about translation, so I bring that up because I wanted to just backtrack to that real quick for a minute. I mentioned earlier, and again, I'm not, and I always tell people this, I'm not, quote unquote, a Hebrew scholar, but I think it's important that what you did in this book that other people should do, and I don't know, maybe you can recommend. I found the Ryrie Blue online study Bible to be a helpful tool. where would you suggest somebody, because I think where the confusion comes in understanding these books, and it's been my opinion for many years, what's a good place for somebody to start to understand some of the, the etymology of the words, the Hebrew translations, to maybe somebody that doesn't obviously have the Hebrew background?
That's a great question. I would say,
Go ahead.
Okay. I heard like a bunch.
Yeah, I heard a bunch of noise too. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I heard it too.
And I'm telling you, these spirits do not want this information out, do they?
And you notice every time we go into that part, something in relation to this, something goes wrong. But go ahead, we'll get it out.
They don't want that shit out there, man, because it's like this is going to empower people to learn more, So the thing is that the first thing you want to do, and this is both for the Old and New Testament, but because we're doing the Old Testament mostly in this book, you want to find yourself an interlinear Bible, okay? Because a lot of this stuff starts, obviously from the Old Testament. An interlinear Bible, English, Hebrew, the good thing about that, and with transliteration. Wow, what the hell's going on?
I don't know what the fuck's going on. I think
that was crazy. Yo, that was crazy.
There's some supernatural shit going on here. You see, they don't want you to know, because the thing is that this stuff, when you grasp it, it's so powerful. That's why, I'm telling you. So what you want to do is an interlinear Bible, English, Hebrew, with transliteration.
Okay.
And you can find that online. You could just put in as a search term, English, Hebrew, interlinear transliteration, and what will happen is you'll find the English, Hebrew, and then they'll show you, the way the Hebrew is pronounced.
Okay.
And then from there, you can then do like word studies. You can do a search called, Hebrew word studies. There's a program called Logos. It's LOGOS.com.
Yes, I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah, they have also, programs that you can use and download, and can help you with that. In the end, you can do word studies, but the grammar is also important, because sometimes you'll look at something and be like, well, what does that mean? Especially with the Greek. I mean, if you're going to do like New Testament studies, the Greek is so much more complicated than the Hebrew. I mean, it sounds like it wouldn't be, but it is. The grammar and the accents and the breathing marks. I mean, it's so much more complicated in Greek. It's actually, I would recommend you learning Hebrew first.
That's right.
Because Greek is so much more complicated. But interlinear is the way to start. That's the first place to start, and then from there you can work on. There's a website called Biblos. It's BIBLOS.com, I believe it is, and that can help you too, where it'll take the sentence or a verse and break it down into the Hebrew or into the Greek, whatever you're studying.
Right.
And that can help you. I wish I had that when I first started. Now I don't need it as much, but I wish when I first studied this that I had that, because otherwise I spent a fortune on all those things, and now it's like click of a mouse. So everyone can get to this point. It's just what you need to do is just study every day. Find passages that you like. Some people are like into certain passages. Some people like the as Iron Maiden, right? You have that the number of the beast, right? Let he who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. Some people like that verse. So what I recommend is go to an interlinear Bible, look up that verse and see how it's pronounced in Greek, and that'll open it up for you,
Right.
where you'll be, oh, that's so, hexagente, you'll open it up, and so everything is online now. So there's no reason why people can't learn this stuff. It's right there now. This isn't the 80s and 90s when I studied this, where I had to pay.
That's right.
And it was a lot of fucking money, So now it's all free, pretty much, almost free.
Right.
Most of it's free.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with all these platforms and the internet. I mean, back then you didn't have access to all this information. Now we do. All right, but that's a good point because I always tell people one thing. I'm always telling people, man, being on this path than any other path, it's work, and you got to really put work in. You got to put the time, the research.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Okay. Unbelievable.
That's weird.
Yeah.
All right,
And now they're doing a Donald Duck sound.
I'm sorry.
is that someone on purpose or
No,
everyone?
I can't even see where it's coming from. That's the crazy thing.
Well, that's funny.
I can't see where it's coming from either.
Someone just texted me. They said your spirit be fucking shit up.
I'm trying to find it, but the other ones I found. Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like from The Exorcist. We're gonna be like, now.
Wow.
Crazy. Wow. That's really funny.
I can't even figure out where it's coming from.
You guys can.
I'm trying to find it.
Secondary bacteria, they grow faggots and cocks.
What?
I don't know what the hell that was.
Secondary bitches. Secondary thick. Secondary figures and bricks and shits and bitches and things and socks and dick
Wow.
and bitch and
I don't know
bitch.
what is that.
Sizzling cock.
Q&A mode on. Participants may now unmute themselves.
Something's going on.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, that is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that was. I couldn't even figure out where it was coming from.
I'm getting messages right now. That one person said, "Your spirits be fucking shit up," and this other one. Hold on, let me get this one. It says, "Disconnect all audio. It's something intentional." So there's clearly people are calling to try to sabotage this call.
Yeah, I see that. And
Yeah, that's what I got too, because I went
TalkShoe Live. This episode is being recorded and streamed live on TalkShoe.com. You are joining the online studio. You are unmuted and can speak with the host.
We don't know
Recording
what we're talking
started.
about. And that's not my intention. But clearly there are people who want to take it down. But I'm getting texts like left and right now. They're saying, people are trolling. And that's probably what's happening.
Yeah.
I just got a text now. Oh my God, what the hell's going on here? There we go. See what I mean?
I figured out where that one was coming from.
I just muted one too. That's crazy.
Yeah, we got
well, that's the whole thing.
They have to.
That's what they want. They don't want this information out there. They want to keep. You know who it could be? There's a group out there. I'm not going to say their name, but
Yeah.
there's a group out there that you probably already know about. That they don't like anyone. Anyone who doesn't adhere to them, they don't. They treat them like crap. They sabotage their stuff. They do all sorts of stuff. And it's a group, a very specific group out there. And I told them that I didn't want to belong to their group because there was too much drama there. But apparently they sabotage everyone. This is not just me. They would probably do this to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there is a group out there, that is now trolling everyone everywhere. And it's unfortunate because I never had any beef with them. I don't know anything about them, and they had beef with me. I don't know why, but that's because I guess I didn't join their group. So,
Right.
Whatever it is.
Point is, not going to stop doing what we do anyway, regardless. It's kind of funny,
Exactly.
No.
childish. But yeah. Well, I mean, if there's anything else you want to add, Baal, I know we pretty much at the 10 o'clock hour. I mean, if feel free to share whatever.
No, this was great. I mean, I got a lot of information out there, and if you guys need me back on, maybe if there's a way to get those callers under control, whoever they are.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, but I actually know who that is, and I'm gonna handle that. I know who that is because they just fucked up with me, and don't worry, I'm gonna address that. I know where one of them is coming from. They just fucked up because they don't know who they fucking with, but they'll find out. They're gonna find out.
Well,
Yeah, they're gonna find out. I know. And they just hung up when I said that. But I'm gonna tell you this: if you're listening, you don't want to fuck with me. Trust me, I handle things a different way. So I'm gonna put that out there. I know who it is. They just fucked up. Okay. And I'm gonna put it out there. And hear me well, you just fucked up big time. Okay. But yeah. We'll definitely get you back on. Most definitely, Baal. We gotta get you back on. I know you're very busy. I'll definitely stay in contact with you.
all right.
I'll shoot you a message when the next time you got some time to come on. And I do have a method, the way we can block the interference. I'm gonna have you call in on the other line where nobody can really interfere with that. So we'll do that instead of having you come in through the TalkShoe line. I'm gonna give you the direct number, and nobody will be able to interfere with it. We won't even have that line up and running, and there won't be any interference. All right. Hey, but I most definitely appreciate it. It's great when we do get to have you on, and I'll contact you in a little bit, and you throw some dates on me that work for you, and then we'll go from there.
All right, great. Thank you for having me.
No,
Great
thank you for
show.
coming. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Have a good
Take
night.
care.
All right, I'm gonna end this here, but I'm gonna stay on YouTube for a minute. So go over to YouTube. Okay. So I'm gonna stop this recording. So everybody, if you are here, just go over to the YouTube for a little bit. We're gonna finish up a little bit here, and then we'll go from there. All right. So I'm gonna shut this down, and YouTube is still up.
Recording paused.
Okay. All right. Me, all I'm gonna do is say it is. I mean, if you want to call, you can still call in on the call number. I'm just gonna stay on that. All I'm gonna say is this. Let me say something, man. All right, I'm gonna put something out there, not to give it too much attention, because I'm about doing things and not so much talking about them. So this person's gonna know who I'm talking to. You done fucked up. Let me tell you that right now. You done fucked up. Okay, because I figured out. I got what I need to know. And you fucked up. That's the best thing I can tell you. Okay. Let me make this clear. I ain't got time for fucking games. Okay. And if you think I'm about games and you want to play fucking games with me, it's the biggest mistake you ever make in your entire fucking life. Trust me when I tell you that. Okay. You don't want to go there. Trust me when I tell you. All right. And it's as simple as, if this is not your thing, like I said before many times, do not tune in, okay? Do what you fucking do. But if you want to play fucking games, I'm going to tell you straight up, don't go there with me. Because I will haunt you in your motherfucking dreams. I will come to you when you least fucking expect it, okay? Don't play those games. You don't want to play those games. Don't let this YouTube shit fool you. Okay. Don't let this shit fool you. I ain't about hiding behind a motherfucking keyboard. I ain't about hiding behind a fucking phone. I ain't about hiding behind a fucking screen name. See, bitches do that. Little punks do that. If you got an issue and a gripe and something on your mind, get on the fucking phone like a man. Get on the video and show your motherfucking face, little punk ass bitches. Okay. You don't want to fuck with me. Trust me when I tell you. That wrath is unleashed. There ain't no taking it back. And I won't even begin to describe that. So I'm going to put that out. But let me tell you this. I'm leave it at this, and then we'll move on. I know exactly who and what it was. Okay. So let me put that out there. Okay. Just going to put that out there. But I'm going to handle that. I'm going to handle it. Keep playing fucking games. This shit here, just like you heard there, people like Baal and other people that are really out here doing work, people don't want this type of shit to get out, just like he said. Okay? People don't want this type of shit to get out. Or you got other people that are hating on what you're doing. Okay? You got other people hating on what you're doing because they're little bitch ass motherfuckers. That's why. Okay? But see, I handle it my own way. I ain't gonna sit out there because a bitch will be called out. Okay, and I'm gonna handle that shit. Trust me when I tell you, I'm gonna handle that. Ain't gonna be pretty the way I handle it, but I'm gonna handle it. You understand? If this is not your thing, don't fucking tune in. If you're a little hating bitch ass motherfucker, don't tune in. Okay, don't tune in. Because people like that, I wouldn't even punch a motherfucker with a closed fist. I slap you with the back of my fucking hand. I slap your ass in the next week. That's how I deal with bitches like that. Straight up. Slap you with the back of my motherfucking hand. You understand? I don't play that shit. I'm gonna tell you right now. I don't play that shit. Keep fucking with me and you're gonna figure it out on your own. You start getting sick, your ding-a-ling don't go up, and other shit start happening to you, keep fucking with me. All right? Because I ain't got time for that bullshit. All right? But we'll handle it. You want to play? You see, you got all these motherfuckers out here that think they're dark and work black magic. There's a lot of shit I don't talk about on this channel, and I wouldn't. But if you bring that side out, I work with this shit for real. Okay? I ain't a book reader. I ain't somebody that fucking gets on YouTube and plays a role and fakes the fucking funk and pretends like I got credentials that I don't fucking have. Okay, and play that they're occultist and dark magician. I do this shit for real. Okay. And I got a path of victims to fucking prove it. Okay. Don't play with me. I'm telling you, if you want to fuck around, go there. Don't play with me. Okay. Because I stay in my motherfucking lane. As soon as you get in my lane, I'm running your ass over like a Mack fucking truck. Better get the fuck out of my way. If you in my way, you're an enemy to me. You understand that? Stay in your motherfucking lane. I don't get in nobody else's lane. I don't care who you are. Okay, if you, whatever the fuck you're doing, I don't get on the internet and talk about no Bobby Hemmett or panic or talk bad about anybody. All right, I stay in my motherfucking lane. You start fucking with me though. Don't let the light skin fool you either. Okay, because I ain't one of those pretty boy motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Okay, don't let that shit fool you. Fuck around, let it fool you. Okay, that's all I gotta say. Back of the hand. Physically and metaphorically, back of the motherfucking hand. That's all I got to say on that. Anyway, on another, we will get them back. In addition to that nonsense, we had all type of internet connections on my end. Now that part I can tell you right there. This AT&T shit I've been dealing with. I've been dealing with for weeks. I'm about to give them a call tomorrow and light their ass up because this is something that's been going on constantly throughout the day. And so I kept dropping, and I know it kind of fucked up the calls. There were so many calls I missed due to the internet connection dropping. But again, that's something I know was happening because I've been having an issue with shitty-ass AT&T. Just so people understand, we had turned one box in. We were having a problem with that. They sent us a new one, and it seems like this new one is fucking worse than the first one. So I'm about to call them and dig into their ass because, we work from home and we rely on that internet connection and that kills business and, the whole nine. So, but I appreciate Raven and others that stayed in there and were holding it down. It ain't going to stop it. It's going to be more motivated. And like I say, we get them back on. And the haters will come out, and then that's when we stomp a mud hole in their motherfucking ass. Like I'm saying, man, get me in that mood. Don't get me in that mood. Don't bring old Beniti back from 15, 20 years ago. Because shit, I will make you rethink your fucking existence. I'll tell you that right now. I'll have you crying that you were even fucking born into this world. Okay. But yeah, AT&T sucks. So it's definitely going to address that. But I find it odd, just like Baal Kadmon was saying, I find it kind of odd. He comes on first night, and I hadn't had that problem. And I think the last time I had that problem was months ago. One time since I've been doing this, never had internet connection, issues. But it is what it is. But if anybody, I'm again put the number. If anybody wants to call in, I'm still on for a little bit. I mean, you guys got to start calling in, man, asking questions, man. Stop with the fucking great show. It's so nice. Baal, let me rub your balls. I mean, this is your opportunity to ask questions to grow, not just to sit here and just be spectators. You got to start participating in this stuff, asking questions, because I got to be honest with you, it's starting to make me wonder if you guys are really reading this stuff. I'm not being judgmental, but add your perspective on it. Let your voice be heard. When we have some of these people on, I know I lost a lot of calls. 12 calls got dropped. So there were people, and I don't know if some of them were the same callers, calling and hanging up, getting back in when we started having the technical difficulties. But even the sister that called in, she's very popular in the cult. Velvet, I think Velvet Black, if I'm saying her name right. I know it's Velvet something. I've actually seen some of her work. I didn't even know that was her. And just the fact that somebody, and he didn't even know it was her until he asked. So it just goes to show you don't know who's listening and what type of people, you're reaching. And this is your chance to connect and start asking some of these questions. So I just put the number back in there. If anybody, because I'm not on the Hangouts right now, I'm on the regular Google, so I can't bring anybody in on video on this platform. And I did that just so we didn't have any interruptions with Baal. But I'll go back to that platform on the next feed. But you can call in. You understand? All right, so let me see if somebody types something in. Let's see if somebody types some questions. And again, if you want to call, it's 561-962-1137. Divinely Guided Goddess typed in, because I've been concluding that demons are aspects of our subconscious self, but always come across info that refer to them as separate entities. So I get a bit confused there sometimes. That's an excellent question. And I don't know if you were on earlier, I posed the subjective aspect of working with these quote unquote entities, spirits, demons, to Baal Kadmon. Now I think he answered it well, and I kind of answer it very similar over the years. Okay, they're actually, the way you described it, it's actually the same thing, but it's not. And let me explain. When we say that it's the first part of your question, the aspects of our subconscious, the mind, that's the point and origin of it. Everything starts within the mind. So in that sense, it's 100% correct. What I mean by that is, that's why I always refer people to the 7 Hermetic principles of Tahuti, right? Understanding this, what we're categorizing, spirits and demons and entities, etc. Understand when it says in the first principle, all is mental, mental is all, the universe is mental. That's talking about the power of your subjective mind, or power of the mental universe, or the many multiple mental universes that you have the ability to tap into. But it does create an experience when we look at the separate, as you say, when we're looking at the aspect of it being quote unquote separate. Like, let me give you an example. If somebody is doing a ritual with a particular demon or a spirit, let's say they're doing something with Samael, since we were talking with Samael earlier, somebody might describe that they did a work, and you hear this all the time. They saw some type of image. Okay, and I'm going to explain this. This is a very good question, but understand this goes into a multitude of areas. Somebody will say they did a ritual, say with Samael or Kali or whatever it might be. And as they did that work, at some point in the rituals, they saw an appearance of this deity, etc. They received a communication, a message. They heard a voice. It could be all these different factors. So now we've got this concept of internally, and we're saying there is an expression of this externally. Well, here's the reality. It's still, why I say they're actually the same, but yet different. Here's why I said that. In essence, all right, if you do a ritual with any of these, whatever you study, absorb, whatever imagery you take in, that's stored in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like a computer. It stores all this stuff. So if it's just like a religious person that's raised Catholic, right? You read over the years all these different apparitions of the Virgin Mary, right? Most of them have similar descriptions. I'm trying to show you the power of the subconscious mind. Most of them give you these similar descriptions in appearance, clothing, etc. Why is that? Because they've been programmed from such an early age. This image has been stamped in their subconscious. That is the power of the subjective. The powers that be that use religion as a tool of indoctrination know that. And we utilize that same power when working magic. So it's the same thing. If you're doing all this study on Lilith, Kali, Samael, Lucifer, whatever information you're ingesting, whatever imagery you're creating in your mind, of course you're going to have an experience when you go into a ritual, a working, a meditation, a visualization. You're going to conjure up some image that creates the illusion that it's something taking place outside of yourself. It's just still, it had its point of origin in the mind. You had to formulate all of that from your thoughts, right? And by your thoughts become a reality when you bring them into the objective. You understand? So it's the same, but yet different. It's really one thing. And he was explaining that earlier when I was asking about the subjective realm. Some people approach it from an aesthetic view when working with these spirits and demons, and you can do that if it works for you. But even in essence, you must, and all the Egyptian mysteries were trying to teach that. When you read the story, for an example, in the pyramid text, when it talks about Tar, some say Patar, Ptah, there's a story that says he thought himself into existence. What does that mean? Because a lot of those stories speak in metaphors, right? Symbols. You understand? What it's talking about is the power. In order for something to be brought into the objective or the physical, it must be formulated mentally. It must be brought on the mental plane. Well, actually from the spiritual realm to the mental and then on into the physical. but it has its formulation on the mental plane. So this same process, and that's why I had asked the question about subjectivity and working with the spirits and the demons, whatever you want to call it earlier, because how does that tie in and how does it connect? And he kind of broke it down and explained it, similar aspects as I just described, but he was explaining it, the power of the subjective. But one thing I wanted to add to that is, remember, a lot of it is based on your experiences and what you've absorbed over the years. You got to understand this. This affects your thinking, your perception, how you perceive reality, right? Your culture, your traditions you might have been brought under, your ethnicity, your environment, how you were raised. All of these things affect your perception and how you see things, right? Because if we take a particular archetype of deity from any pantheon or culture, right? We've formulated an imagery with it. Like, let's use, for an example, the Yoruba pantheon, right? If you went to Yoruba practitioners that have had experiences, let's say with Oshun, or let's say with Shango or Obatala, they're all going to have their own personal description. Like if you talk to a lot of Cubans that practice Santeria, they see it their way. You go over to Nigeria or Africa or talk to a African or a Nigerian that's into the Ifa or Yoruba culture, they're not going to describe it the same way. They're going to have a whole different perspective in addition to description. I'm bringing all that up to show you because culture, how you were raised, and the information you feed yourself from day one to the present, I don't care if you're on this path now and you say you're awoke or awake, conscious, whatever the fuck you want to call it, don't think that stuff prior to this still does not have some type of effect or trauma on you. Everybody will say, no. I've left that. I don't think like that. Or religion doesn't have an effect on me. For the most part, it don't, but it does. There's stuff there that's impounded psychologically and trauma that you're not fully conscious of, and it affects your perception and how you see things. So it's an excellent question, and it does. In essence, you are right. Your first part of your and again, for those that didn't see it, if you go up. Divinely Guided Goddess at 10:16 p.m. in the chat. I want to read the first part again, concluding that demons are aspects of our subconscious self. And that's step one. Always understand that. I did a video, when was that? The Tuesday, the other night, about fragments of your personal daemon. I would check that out because I kind of get into different aspects of this because that manifests and shows itself on a multitude of different levels, kind of the way that we're talking about right now. All right. Now, again, so the separateness comes in how you manifest the experience, right? It's no different than, let's say this. I've mentioned this before in the past. Let's also look at the fact when you're communicating with your ancestors or family members of your bloodline that have transitioned on. How many people have you come across over the years that have said, I had an experience last night. My grandmother came to me in a dream or a vision, or I was meditating or working at my altar. I mean, this happens frequently with me with my parents that have passed on. Okay. What causes that? Is that something that's a separate incident from outside of yourself, or is that something coming from within? It's the same concept. It's both. What do I mean by that? Because one, it's your DNA and your blood that runs through your veins. So yes, it's from within. The connection was made from within via the DNA and the blood. Where it connects to the mental, the imagery, obviously that's your parents, people you've met, you already have an established, you understand, perception and an image of that. Now, the difference is with a situation like that, as opposed to working with some of these archetypes, demons, spirits, etc. The difference with that is it's quite simple. With a bloodline ancestor, it's easy to speed up your frequency and your vibration and have your thoughts formulated and all in sync and harmony to manifest that experience, because it's something that's natural and dormant within the DNA. Whereas the others, not that it's not naturally dormant and within you, it's just it takes a little more discipline and practice, because that's stuff that we've even forgotten further of not having a direct connection to. And that's the purpose of doing work on this path, working rituals, etc. It's all to make that connection again. But in essence, here's the deeper thing. And I like this question because it taps into so many different areas. The deep thing is it's all connected. Nothing is separate. Once you start understanding that, everything is interwoven. When we talk about the planes, like you see when you read about quote unquote spiritual planes, the physical plane, the mental plane, spiritual plane, planar force, all these different planes as they try to break it down, it creates this illusion like they're layers upon layers. That's that spooky shit. When you really understand the science, when you understand metaphysics, quantum physics, and spirituality, you understand it's all interwoven around you. It's just such a thin veil that disconnects you. What disconnects you? When a lot of this, the pineal gland, we talk about that all the time, being calcified, not operating, vibrating at its correct frequency, that fucks you up because it shuts down the receptors that receive the communications and the messages to connect to this type of energy or this type of work. So look at it in that line, that everything is interwoven and connected. And I've always said the shamans and the Native Americans always had a lock on this, in my opinion, because they always taught that all things are connected. They always taught that there's really there's such a thin line or separation between what we call the physical and the spiritual realm. So when we look at it as being interwoven around, like look at it like this. When you look at the thermometer, right? Or you look at water boiling, or you look at when something goes from below 32 degrees and below is considered freezing, right? Or frozen, right? That's a Masonic term too, right? When you become a 32nd degree Mason, you become frozen, right? You hear that all the time. But at what point can one see with the naked eye or feel or absorb when it goes from 30, when the temperature changes, when it makes the exact transition to what we perceive as cold to warm? Can we really see it? Or do we feel it? Do we absorb it? How do we become aware of it, right? That's I'm trying to use that analogy to understand, to show you how all this is connected. And it's really how we perceive it, or the things, the blockages that we've created. I use that temperature analogy to get an understanding of that, because the naked eye don't really see it. Okay, so let's see, we got a caller. Let's see who this is. How you doing, caller? What's your name and where you calling from? Hello?
Yeah. This is Brother Jack.
What's going on there, brother? Yo, Jack. We're gonna have
that temper cuz they got you wild up.
Yo, son, we're gonna have to crack some skulls. We have to go old school, brother. Old school. We have to round up them boys.
Everybody hide your alarm clock, man.
Yeah, I don't want to throw. I don't want to throw an alarm clock at nobody and bust their whole shit open. Yeah, we don't want to do that, brother.
Yeah, right. No. But I was listening to you saying we were explaining so I'm gonna watch that. I was explaining about we were explaining about how everything is woven, right?
Right.
And it's just the same thing. Like I think about your emotions, right? You have, we have your ups or down, right? They're just like different, like radio stations, right? When you're down, you get certain type of thoughts. When you're up, you get certain type of thoughts. So it's like the same thing, but it's all inside you. You're still a physical state, but your emotions, carry a certain type of power, right? So it's like, it's kind of the same thing there if you look at that aspect. It also ties into like when you're angry, you get hot, same thing, like you get angry or whatever, you get hot headed or whatever. Your blood boils, so the same thing. So everything is kind of
and that's a good point. That's an excellent analogy. That's an excellent point. But in that too, right? Like you're right. At what point when you're quote unquote, say you're in a calm, what somebody would describe, because that's perception too, when you're in a calm state of mind, right? At what point when the switch is turned on, like you're saying, your emotions go fluctuate, you become aggressive, hot, or angry. And you feel at a moment when you're excited and elevated, but can you pinpoint the exact moment the transition happens? No, you can't, because it's a reactionary thing. But in that same expression of emotions in a case like this, and when we're on this path and we understand how to work with anger, but anger sometimes, and I can only speak for myself, it's a release, because I know that's something I had to work on for years. And it's kind of like an emotional high sometimes. And I had to get that under control. And you don't want that, man. And I don't want that, but sometimes it's necessary. You gotta pull out that can of whoop ass. And
so especially the people, like when it comes to dealing with that type of energy, right, and using that to attack certain aspects of yourself. How does one utilize that to, like, you know, in a positive way for self growth? Like, from your experience, how did you utilize that? You know what I mean?
Okay, that's a real good question. So you take that aggression with somebody. Now, always keep in mind, it's personal. So what we might be perceiving in our personal situation as something that might be positive or negative to us, obviously based on our lives, situation, and what we got going on a daily basis. So I'm going to use the example of my aggression just a short while ago, because that just happened. I can take that aggression and that charged up energy, and I can utilize it. Let's say if I wanted to go to my altar room right now and do a working, like literally, let's say I wanted to go fuck somebody up and do a spiritual attack, a hex or a curse, I would be charged up from the fuel of what, rather than just use that anger to do something pure stupidity and not use it for anything productive, rather than just use it for nonsense, what most people would. I could even use it for that, or I can use it, let's say I wanted to fuel a money magic ritual, because the passion and the energy is at a high intense level. So that's how you take the aggression, or you take something that one quote unquote would term negative, like, you know, as charged up as I feel now, I feel like I can work any type of avenue at the present moment. So the difference is when you're not aware, or you're not conscious of your thoughts and how you carry them out, you just become reactionary. You understand? But when I was saying what I was saying, yeah, though some of it was reactionary, I actually visualized, saw it, and that's part of a ritual in itself. I saw the person, I saw what I would do to them, and that's sending the energy out there in itself if you're working destructive magic. So if I've already planted the seed for it. So there's things going on a subconscious level, and then there's things going on a conscious level. So the aggression, the anger, the energy, and believe me, even though, and I'm still charged up, even though I was charged up, I was actually doing it as I was talking. What I was saying, I was visualizing the same time I was talking. Saw the individual, saw me doing that, etc. And that's the difference. Whereas to just become purely emotional and carry on, but there's no focus for the aggression and the anger, then that becomes a problem, and that becomes consuming. So there's a difference. And I mean what I say. And anybody that knows me, I mean what I say, and I do what I mean. Okay? And I don't talk about anything if I don't do it. Just like you heard Baal Kadmon say something very critical tonight. I don't write about anything I don't have no experience to. So let me say this to fuckers out in the occult land and YouTube or wherever the fuck, conscious coon community. Stop talking about shit you don't know about, okay? That's my point, okay? There's a lot of people talk about shit they have no clue about. They claim accolades to something they ain't got no fucking experience in. And he said that's a rule of thumb he lives by, okay? Lives by. And I think that's a smart thing. He said, if I don't have experience, he said, that's my number one rule in writing books. I don't write about anything I don't have experience on. Well, to all you old stupid cornball motherfuckers who think you're so dark and magical, stop talking about shit you don't fucking know about. Because if you keep talking about shit you don't know about, I'm gonna teach you about it my own way. You're gonna learn the lesson the hard way. Okay, because I told you I'm about fed up with that shit. And that's why I did videos on it a little while back. I'm just tired of all these motherfuckers faking the fucking funk, talking bullshit about how dark they are and they're this and that and fucking this and that. And I fucking work with this and my ball sack is this and my nut sack is that. And I'm so fucking this. It's all garbage and bullshit to me. Okay. Because I see all, like I said before in the last video. Okay. Like I said on the last video, all the motherfuckers that pump the Kool-Aid all the time, they're the weakest bitches you ever meet in your life. The ones that got to talk about it all the time and how they're this and that, they ain't shit. They're about as dark occult as dark magic, dark this, as this fucking pinky right here. Okay? That's about it. So it's all bullshit. But hopefully that answers your question, Brother Jack. I know it went somewhere else. You still there or you hung up?
No, that was good, man. That was good. It answered it.
But right now, let's bow our head for a prayer. Dear Jesus, praise God. Oh, stop. Stop.
Dear Jesus.
All right. All right, so let me. You can stay on the line if you want, unless somebody else calls. It's up to you, brother.
Yeah.
Because I see nobody likes to call. They all scared, you know. All right, I saw some questions from John. Let me scroll up. John had a couple good questions. Greetings to you again, John. Appreciate you tuning in. John's a big sports fan. We had a little sports dialogue last night, which was kind of fun. Got a lot of emails on that. People enjoyed that. I know some of the women probably were bored that ain't sports fans. They were probably, what the fuck are they talking about? John says, does the pineal gland connect us to the subconscious? It helps activate it, most definitely. In my experience with it, and there's many theories on this, if the pineal gland is calcified, and what does that mean for those that may not know? You might know, John, but some other people may not know. If you study any level of alchemy, they always talk about calcification and decalcifying, right? One of the main processes in working spiritual alchemy or self-transformative alchemy is activating the pineal gland. That's one aspect of it. And they talk about things that keep it calcified. It could be a number of things: bad food, incorrect information, indoctrination, incorrect systems of information that we've been studying, all these different levels of programming. In addition, so there's a spiritual, mental, emotional, and a physical aspect that have to be worked on. And when we're talking in reference to the pineal gland, that help activate it, because what can happen, and there's many people that have talked about this in the past. Dr. Delbert Blair used to talk about this a lot. Dr. Jewel Program. Even when I had Dr. Phil Valentine on, he explained this several times. You'll hear a lot of people. I'm just throwing some people out there. When it's not functioning at its correct capacity, as I said earlier, it just disconnects you from, and I'm using that term, a metaphor, it disconnects you from the spiritual realm. In a sense, you don't get the communications, the visions, the messages like you should frequently. It don't mean you can't have glimpses and experiences here and there. But an individual whose pineal gland is functioning or activated on a consistent or working consistently regularly is linked in and has these experiences. They're able to communicate, quote unquote, with the spirit world. Their awareness increases. Everything seems to make sense. That doesn't make sense if that kind of makes sense. Now, when you go back and you look at this whole process, right? With the pineal gland, being activated. And that's why I said it does activate the awareness of the subconscious, because when we talk about the subconscious, we always talk about many things being buried there that we're not aware of. But what it also does is it also brings to the surface a lot of the traumas that you're not addressing about yourself, issues maybe in the past that you thought you were over. Issues such as, mommy, daddy issues growing up, relationship issues, being bullied as a kid. All of those awarenesses come to the surface. So when you hear me talking about in videos over the years, you got to deal with your bullshit. Well, there's a lot of spiritual discipline in working, quote unquote, the pineal gland. Why do you think the Baphomet symbol, for an example, right? And I said there means so much more to somebody on this path than just a cool hip symbol to wear. Because when you look at the Baphomet symbol, when you look right at the brow chakra where the pineal is, you see the flame or the fire. You got the fire element, right? And you have the activation of the pineal, right? You have the as above, so below, as within, so without. It's showing you the connection to all that, right? You see the four elements. I talk about this all the time. You see androgyny. You see totality, equilibrium, right? The face of a man, the goat face of a man. You see the breasts of a female. You see them perched on the earth, right? And we know goats like to go high up top on a mountain to look down on their subjects because they feel powerful, like they have control. That's what they do. All of this is...
Now, do you think that could be like 360, like raising up yourself to like another 360 knowledge? You have, the circle turn inside out. Yeah. Same thing as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's another analogy you could apply to self. Most definitely. And that's why when, I don't know if you remember a few weeks back, or I think it was sometime in January, when all that shit was going on the internet with, Baphomet and Bobby Hemmett, and they were attacking him. And the other, there was a little troll dude, the little Asian looking midget dude. I can never remember his name. It was a little dude the loudmouth dude that'd be yelling all the time. That's his right-hand man, his little sidekick, the sidekicks. Just a little dude, the dude. Oh, Seti, Sarah Suit and Seti. when they were all over the internet attacking Bobby Hemmett and this Baphomet, and then Panic, indirectly responded to a young feminine, I call him, because he's very female-like to me. He responded to it. It's just stupidity. These dudes look at, because they're so spooked out. They're supposed to be conscious people that are woke, right? How do you study African spirituality? You know nothing about witchcraft, black magic, and African sorcery. You don't know nothing about that. So I don't hear none of these cats talking about voodoo and voodoo, right? That predates all the shit that they're talking about. So where does that come from? Is that evil? Is that devil shit? Is that demonic shit? So you're trying to tell me all the people in West Africa that practice voodoo and translate it here to amongst all the Haitians in Haiti and America and amongst every other practitioner of voodoo, African magic, and witchcraft, so you tell me that's all evil? See, they all talk about this Egypt shit all the time. They always talk about this. Everything is race to these clowns because that's all they know. If they wasn't talking about race, they would have nothing else to talk about. I haven't heard one person try to even debunk or refute voodoo. And that's why they attacked Bobby Hemmett, because he deals with a lot of that stuff and they don't really know how to respond to it. So they looked at Baphomet as some entity or demon or that people worship. You're a fucking fool if that's what you think it is. Anybody that studies this path and knows it's a symbol, okay? If anybody tells you otherwise, that's their personal opinion. And they're not really practicing what we call the occult, left-hand path of self-mastery. Nobody on this path, anyway that I know in this circle, looks at Baphomet as some fucking monster demon that they worship. And that's how them dudes were refuting. And it's fucking comical. It's childlike, right? If we're still having these discussions in 2019, it's fucking pathetic, man. It really is. It's sad and it's pathetic. But this is the type of nonsense you deal with. And that's the problem with that whole conscious community circle thing, is they talk about the same shit all the time. I don't give a fuck about no Kemetic community versus the Hebrew. Fuck the Hebrew Israelites. Who cares about that stupid ass shit? We're still arguing over religion. And like we were talking about earlier with Baal Kadmon, fuck that God of the Bible. That God of the Bible is a warmonger. He's a criminal. He's a violent fucking thug. He requires blood sacrifice. He loves the smell of dead flesh. He allows incest. He allows killing, but can't kill when he says don't kill. That's one of the 10, right? But when it's okay to go to war and slaughter men, women, and children and steal all their loot and gold and bring it amongst his people, it's okay. What makes that fucking God any different than a human being? It doesn't. Matter of fact, that God's worse than most human beings, okay? But we want to argue over this shit. You got people still want to argue. Anybody that can call themselves a black Hebrew Israelite is a complete fucking moron. I don't even know how stupid you can fucking be and think just because you sprinkled it in chocolate, like that's going to change anything. And then they come with some ridiculous shit that King James was a black man. You're fucking delusional. And the shit that they try to present forward to validate it is comical. But this is the dialogue people still want to have and waste their time and energy. I couldn't give a fuck about no black Hebrew Israelites. I couldn't give a fuck about no Muslims, Christianity, Judaism. If we don't let that sickness go, nothing's ever going to change. And that's for every person on the fucking planet. I'm not just talking about for black people, Latinos. That goes for whites, Europeans, Asians. Because look how that disease has spread all over the fucking world. And religion is probably the main culprit for all the conflicts that exist worldwide, or they use it to hide behind because they have another agenda. That's a whole nother story. But the whole point is, until we get over this sickness and we still keep debating this fucking nonsense. And that's why Baal Kadmon's book, I think, and again, that's the book there, just so you guys could see it. It's a long title, Devils, Demons, and Ghosts in the Hebrew Tradition, Romancing the Sitra Achra, right? Because he's taking it to an esoterical and a metaphysical level. He's going through it front to back. And it's going to smash all of the misconceptions of that faith and belief bullshit that's got people completely poisoned. Okay? And that's why this information was critical tonight. And that's why you had assholes trying to interfere. You had haters. You had moronic pieces of shit. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, is literally shit on them. That's what you deal with, because when you get to the core of things, it smashes all that stuff. Until we move forward as human beings on the planet and get past this religious nonsense, right? it's hard. I know it's hard for some people to fathom because we've been spoon-fed this shit since came out of the womb of our mother. Most of us have on some level. Even if you weren't directly, if you grew up in America, you were influenced by religion in some shape, form, or fashion. All right? Jack, I got another call coming, brother. I'm going to disconnect you, all right?
All right.
Peace, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hi, Brother Benita. I'm calling from California. This is Sue Rich.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I'm calling to tell you that I've been enjoying. I actually was in and out of what you were of the Baal Kadmon conversation because I was in a nail shop and then there was a lot of technical difficulties going on.
Yeah, we had a bunch. Yep.
And a bunch of weirdos calling and making sounds or whatever was going on.
Yeah.
But I was just calling because I scheduled a consultation with you.
Yeah, on Sunday.
I'm kind of new. I want to start this path because I've been listening to some of your videos, watching your videos. I don't know much.
That's all right.
But I just wanted to call to say that, I'm looking forward to the consultation, looking forward to getting started. And I was they're scared to call in. So I said, hey, I don't know much, but I'm not scared to call in. I'm just going to let my voice be heard and say what's up.
Cool.
And,
well, let me say this to you.
I'm looking forward.
Yeah. No, let me say this to you. And the step one is get this out of your mind. Don't matter if you're brand new. And I'm going to tell you why I'm saying this. It doesn't matter if you're brand new, you've been at it 5 years, 10, 20, 30 years. As long as your intent is sincere. And what I mean by that is, I don't say that in a religious way. If your intent is to really learn and grow and you want to master yourself, everything falls into place. As long as you ain't got an ulterior agenda, like unfortunately some people do. And what do I mean by that? Let me clarify that. Like some people think coming on this path is snap their fingers, fix all to everything. And they don't realize it's work. So that's what I mean. So if you just block all of that shit out, and if your intent is, and it seems like it from listening to you talking by your tone of voice, it seems like you just are seeking. And as long as that sincere seeking is there, don't worry about that shit. It's you'll be fine. But at least you called in. I
really have to stop saying because it almost sounds like an excuse.
Nah, I mean, yeah.
Even though, I mean, to keep saying, I'm new, it sounds like an excuse. So I gotta try to stop myself from saying that.
Well, you know who you should.
It's like scary and exciting at the same time.
Right, and that's cool. And you know what? That unknown, that's a good type of scary. Not because that's a different scary. That's not a spooky scary. It's just the anxiousness, being anxious of the unknown.
Exactly.
But it's good because it keeps you sharp. It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
That's cool. But at least you had the courage to call in and try to figure out where all these other punks is at. Let me stop. But
you know this.
What's that?
So once I'm off work. Can you hear me or did I?
I got you now. You went.
When I'm off work, I'm going to the gym, so I can't really call and talk. So that's why I'll text questions sometimes. And,
I got you.
I just try to listen to the content as best I can because it's a little difficult when you're trying to get your workout on and you're trying to listen and So I usually go back and listen to the recordings over the replays. And then, jot down my little notes or whatever I need to do.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm always in the gym. So
that's good. Well, at least
I'm not afraid to call. So I just wanted to say, nah. I heard him say this too many times.
I remember. I remember we tried to get you. Yeah, we tried to get you last time. No, that's all cool. But hey, at least you called in. I appreciate it though.
Okay, I appreciate what you're doing. So I look forward when I get home. I'm going to spend that money, and I look forward to talking to you on Sunday.
All right, cool. We'll talk.
All right.
Peace. All right. Yeah, somebody called in. All right, so let me go back in the chat. I'm staying on for a little longer. If you want to call in, call in. So hopefully, John, with the pineal. I hope that answered that. I know we kind of got a little sidetracked, but that was a good question. Where else we at? I lost my damn spot. Okay, here we go. Okay, then you type down here, and in addition to your question, you also typed in, I learned that the pineal gland connects both hemispheres of the brain. Yeah, you'll see that in a lot of circles. I heard a lot of people talk about that. Well, we'll get back to that. Oh, we got another caller. Let me plug him in. All right. Hello, caller. Greetings. Where you calling from, and what's your name?
This is Oni from Brooklyn.
Oh, shit. BK in the house.
Oh, shit is up.
1 second. The caller that just called in from 936. Wait till this call is over, and then I'll be able to plug you in. I can't plug you in with somebody on the line. So whoever's calling from 936 area code, just call back as soon as I'm done with Oni. What's going on, Oni?
I'm chilling, taking it one step at a time.
All right, so you know we got your topic posted for the 21st, right?
Yes, I saw that. on your IG page.
Okay. You don't got another device running in the background, do you?
Actually, I have my tablet on. I was trying to
just turn the volume down.
I like to listen to myself talk.
Yeah, turn the volume down because you're getting I hear it running in the background. If you can.
Yeah, I turned it down. Can you hear me now?
No, you're good now. Yeah, the echo's gone. Yeah, so let me just briefly, the listeners, I know you see Oni in the chat all the time. Who you see in the chat? This is her on the phone. And before she continues, I just want to put out there, you see the advertisement for her on my page. You see it on Instagram, on the Facebook. We're going to have her on here on the 21st. So I want you guys to tune in from that because she's just going to be going raw dog. But anyway, what do you got for us? I just want to put that out there.
I just wanted to, make a statement in reference to, the whole thing that was going on as far as the noise in the background. Sometimes things happen for a reason.
Sure.
And, unfortunately, being outside of what is the norm, people are going to always fucking judge you.
Yeah, of course. I'm
one of the few E5 devotees that actually, I haven't been initiated. I have 18 years of my own personal experience and paperwork.
That's right.
That can prove a lot of the shit that I've actually been through over these 18 years. So as you're traveling your spiritual path in life, always remember it's about you. It ain't about nobody fucking else because they don't fucking matter.
That's right. And I can attest to some of what she's saying because I've seen some of it. And that's why I want to get her on here. And to what you were just talking about, to the bullshit that was going on earlier. Now, understand this, and I want everybody to be clear on it. It was two things going on simultaneously. Some of it was what Baal Kadmon was saying, okay? There was some interference that we couldn't identify. That was actually happening, right? But there was also, right, but then there was some assholes, and I busted one because they fucked up the way they did it, but I ain't gonna put that out there how and why, because then I'll be giving something away. But one became careless and stupid and didn't realize, and I'm gonna say what he was doing. So I'll put it out there. It was a he. Didn't cover his tracks, trying to be slick. And that's why you see he abruptly hung up once he realized that he fucked up. So
he had the sick ass shoe on his ass to make sure he got caught. That's what a shoe does. A shoe electron energy gets your ass caught out there. So whoever did it was the dumbest person ever.
There was. And it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, so that's what happened. So I want to make sure you and everybody else understand it was a combination of both of those things going on, And it boils down to what you were just saying. Just people stupid, hating, and just they don't want information to get out there, and it's sad. But anyway, what else you got for us?
Well, basically, that's all I really wanted to say, and I just wanted to call in since you always talk about ain't nobody calling.
That's right. There you go. Tell them
some New York energy.
There you go.
and let everybody know that, this is the real deal. So for all y'all haters out there, you better go ahead somewhere because you don't want the coven to come together so we got to handle y'all because we got bitches brewing the pot now. Don't ever get it fucked up.
There you go. See, now I feel like, now listening to you talk, I feel like I'm home. See, that's what I need sometimes to hear. I need to hear that straight from New York. It rejuices me, make me want to go outside, round up. No, let me stop. But
no, it's all good because we gonna hit them White Castle burgers.
White Castle, baby, murder burgers, baby. Gotta hit them, man. The murder burgers, love them. About to hit them.
That's what's up. But I ain't gonna hold you. Maybe somebody else trying to call in. But I just want to holler at everybody, let everybody hear my voice, and let y'all know to tune in on the 21st of March. I will be giving the business.
Cool.
And it is what it is, y'all.
Cool. Appreciate it, Oni.
I got you.
Peace.
Peace, y'all.
All right, there you heard it. So and again, I want to put it out there. So call 936. They called a minute or two ago. You can call in now if you want. Line is free. I see the call. There we go. I see the calls coming in, but I can't plug more than one in. Here we go. All right, greetings, call. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? This is Jeremy. This is Wacky J. What's up, man?
J-Dub, what up, man? What's going on, brother?
Oh, man. Hey, it's all right, man. It's all right.
Hey,
man.
I apologize when you was on earlier. That's when the shit started going haywire, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Listen,
it's all good, no?
I ain't never had nothing like that happen, man. That was crazy. Everything was shutting down, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was some bullshit, man. I seen that happen one time on Talk Show, man.
Yeah. Now, Talk Show, you usually get some. Now, the only issues I usually in the old Talk Show platform before they upgraded the site, what used to happen was, I know also when weather wasn't good, and it didn't even have to be immediately where I was at, people would sometimes have an issue trying to log on or get in. I used to get that a lot. They would email me or text me, I'm trying to call in, it won't let me in, or it's saying the pin is no good. That used to be a lot of the old issues with Talk Show. What I'm noticing about this platform here that I don't like on the new Talk Show, that I'm not crazy about at all, it's just when people automatically come in the room, they don't have a setting where the other one, you can mute them all at once. I got to go back in there. I don't know if there was something wrong with it. I got to set it where you can mute them all at once. But not only that, it just seems like if there's multiple people coming in at once, whoever you're interviewing, the volume goes down low. I don't know what the fuck that is, but anyway, what you got for us? We ain't got to worry about that.
Yeah, man. So I want to tell you, man, why I've done the ritual, man, and got my ancestral altar set up.
Cool.
And man, it's like as soon as I did, man, immediately I started to feel the results, man. I started to see it, man. Yeah, it brought about a real good change, a lot of clarity.
Listen, I'm glad you're saying that because last night, Brother Taza, who I've worked with, has said the same thing. And I want to throw this out there real quick, and then I want you to continue. I keep telling people that's the foundation. I don't give a fuck what anybody tells you. Anybody that tells you others because they're not familiar with it, and that's okay. If they're not on the same wavelength with it, it's just they're not familiar with it. But at least say that part. If you're working this path, especially if you're really trying to connect with your personal daemon, etc., that is the foundation. I'm glad that you're also sharing that. But go ahead, brother.
Right. Yeah, it brought about a lot of clarity and just going forward, it's been getting better. Like every day, that I played the Native American flute music.
Yes.
And as soon as I played it, I just felt like an instant calm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was just a calmness.
Because and that's what came up in your consultation, because you got a particular spirit that came through crystal clear. And but keep harnessing that.
Yes, I am. Most definitely, man. Most definitely. And I appreciate that. I'm going to be back in touch with y'all. I want to take the class. I'm just real busy right now, getting a lot of things together. I'm gonna get in that class. I will be getting the class and coming out to Florida too. Participating in some rituals.
Cool. Well, remember, I put that just for everybody, for you and for everybody out there listening. I did post It's on the YouTube. The YouTube in the community section. It's on the Facebook, the Instagram. Remember, we're having a big yearly annual event. So we did it last October. We're going to continue that on a yearly basis. That's the whole 3-day event. That's going to be in October. We did it for the first time this year. It was a real positive experience. We had, different presenters, and anybody that's coming, including yourself. If anybody would like to do a presentation, all they got to do is say, I'm coming, I would like to do a presentation. So what I do at that, we called it the Journey of the Black Adept. And now this one's going to be Journey of the Black Adept Conference 2, where we do, there's different lectures, workshops, classes, there's rituals, both nights, family dinner. It's a nice little event. So we got a good response from it last year. It was a smaller group, but we expect that to grow based on people asking about it. So I want to say that to you and everybody else out there. I think it's October 25th to the 27th. It's the last weekend in October. If anybody's planning on coming, that might be one you want to mark your calendar to. I put it out there early to give people advance notice, because I know obviously when you're traveling from out of state, it's preparation. You got to buy a ticket. So the earlier you buy, obviously, the cheaper your air flight will be. But in addition to that, yeah, man, every month we got something going on.
Well, that's great, man. I'm definitely praying for that.
Cool. You got anything else for us?
Yeah, that's all right now, man. I had to tell you that. Yeah, man. Once I set the ancestor altar,
Cool.
a lot of clarity. Some things in my daily activities, I saw a change, a benefit, like the improvement. And just the improvement with confidence and
Right.
just some internal, things. It's just a lot of clarity. It brought a lot of clarity
Right.
to where I'm at, and doing the work on the path, and it seems I got a lot of more better like approaching my preparing for rituals,
Sure.
So it's like real good. That head cleanse, man, that's really what I needed. That head cleanse, man, that head cleanse worked. It was like automatic.
Right. And all that stuff, and anybody else that's worked with me that might have done it. You understand it when you do it and go, there's a method to my madness. Trust me. When I'm explaining something, or especially in a private session like that, the objective is everything you're talking about, because I was talking about a little bit about it last night when I was saying, look, all of those are aspects. When I was talking about being fragments of your personal damage, it starts with your DNA bloodline ancestors. So when you just use the term, like you said, you see the different areas that you're aware, and the way you just described it, that's the purpose for doing it. So, and I make sure I explain that and we're clear about that, because it helps you it helps you understand the real you better. And that's all about activating the personal daemon, the higher self, the real you. And so I'm glad that here's one thing I'm real glad of, because unfortunately this happens sometimes. People will do consultations. They don't do any of the work that they're assigned to do. And look, hey, that's on you. That's not on me. But I'm glad to see you actually did the work, and I'm glad to hear you and other people over the last couple of weeks. Now that I'm having a lot of people calling in and coming on, sharing this, because again, you know me, I'm not down with the fake testimonials and putting shit on my website. But if you guys just call in and naturally want to express it, I'm cool with that, because it lets other people hear. And like I say, I know what I do. I know it's effective, but I don't tell people to take my word for it. I tell them find that out when they actually do work. They'll figure this shit out. It actually works. But anyway.
Right.
Cool.
Right, man. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Well, I appreciate you. Appreciate you tuning in, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Only gonna be better.
Cool. All right, brother. Anything else?
Yeah, nah, man, that's it, man. I'm motivated, man, inspired. I'm keep on going every day, man. Just
cool.
Every day is a new day.
There you go.
Do some work, man. Learn, man.
There it is. Yep. True indeed. Yeah. All right, brother.
All right. Peace.
Appreciate it. Peace. All right. So I appreciate the call. All right. So some people calling in. All right. Let me try to go back to the chat. All right. Let me see. What did I leave off here? So John, sugar levels. Yeah, you're right. In relation to what I was discussing earlier, look, man, I struggle. I think we all struggle in areas with that, and something I struggle with for a long time until I just stopped bringing it in the house. Are sweets. I mean, literally, the sweetest thing you'll find in that cabinet is cereal, and the wife still gets on me for eating that shit sometimes. But food is a battle that a lot of people battle. I'm not just talking about being overweight. That's not what I'm talking about. That's one aspect. What I'm talking about with the food is there's the effects such as you're talking about. Because obviously everybody knows to have, let's say, diabetes, you don't necessarily have to be overweight. That's not true at all. That's probably the furthest thing from the truth. But what tends to happen is it affects, does diet and all those things affect you on a spiritual level? It does. It can block and hinder your growth. Most definitely. That's a reality. A lot of those, artificial, I've talked about this all the time, artificial preservatives, bleach sugars, all those chemicals that they put in a lot of the processed foods we eat. Now, look, I want to make this clear. I'm not trying, I don't want to get extremist because there are some people with diet that get, in my opinion, too fucking nuts. You got to kind of use common sense because in the world we live in, a lot of us are on the go all the time. It is hard to eat healthy all the time. Anyway, we got another call. I'll come back. Okay. Greetings, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Brother Benitez. This is Phil Upland from Southern California.
Brother Phil. Yeah, I got the pic, man. I saw that. Very interesting. I saw a couple of different, what I perceived, the visuals I saw. I definitely saw faces. I definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah, man, that was pretty wild. And for it to get burned into the bag, and it didn't burn through, like bubble and stuff. It was really interesting.
And what's funny about you said that, and in Baal Kadmon's book, he talks about summoning spirits and working with them through smoke and fire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's in the book. And so the first thing I thought about when I came across that, I thought about the pics that you sent. And I said, wow. And I saw the pics. I definitely, see the imagery in there. That's wild. But we know, I don't know exactly what you were doing or, I got an idea what you were doing. You explained it the other night, but hey, some things you just, necessarily don't have a concrete explanation. But anyway, what you got for us?
Yeah. Well, and sometimes too, going on top of that, the pictures I have taken over the last couple of years, sometimes they like to overlap one another. So sometimes there's more than one, or it could be the same one, just showing different aspects of itself. But anyways, I was listening to you talk right now. I think you talked about this on Tuesday before I called in. Now, you were talking about hooking up with your personal daemon, and it starts with your ancestors. So they had me thinking.
Right.
Now, there is a correlation between, for example, aspects of myself that I work with and my ancestors.
Right.
So what I mean is the ones that I had given names to, aspects of myself,
mm-hmm.
The photos of them, certain characteristics,
right.
Attributes.
Right.
Now, I'm asking, could it be one of my ancestors coming through as them?
Sure. Most definitely.
Okay.
Now, that's a great point. Now, I always say this. One thing you might have hear me say a lot is, and not that you're not, I'm not saying this just because of you, but it brings this up. We really got to start trusting our personal intuition and messages, because like when I hear you and other people say that, you're actually answering, the answer is in your question.
Yeah.
Now, undoubtedly, if that's what you sense and feel, that's what it is. It don't matter if that doesn't line up with what anybody else says, including me. That's irrelevant, because that's what makes us all unique. There's going to be a lot of similarities in our journeys, no doubt. But there's going to be things that are so unique and personal, it's just for you. But what you're saying is, it's a common ground in this area, but it made me think of that. But if that's what you feel, most definitely that's what it is. And again, the most important thing is it's irrelevant what anybody thinks, whether they agree, disagree, because that's pointless, because that's your own unique experience. Now, if somebody had a similar or like experience, yeah, then they can, there's something to dialogue there. They can say, yeah, I can relate. But the people that are usually going to be in disagreement with something is they just haven't had that similar experience, and that's okay too. But most definitely, I would most definitely say yes to that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I did start this past Tuesday with building a ancestor altar.
Right, I remember you mentioned it.
And starting my work with that. And then I think you mentioned it on Tuesday. I was watching the playback of the video. And then earlier tonight, and I was thinking about that. I said, well, maybe for me, like I said, it's personal.
Right.
Maybe for me that some that I thought there were aspects of me, which you say the ancestors are.
Right.
Right. Maybe that was some of them, or is, should I say, as in present, coming through and revealing themselves how I can recognize, I feel comfortable working with,
Right.
Right. Yeah, and I guess I did answer my own question with the answer.
Most definitely.
I think I did, yeah. That's interesting, that's really interesting. Because so this whole time, I could have been already working with ancestors.
Big time. Oh, well, yeah, and that's another good point you bring up. And let me address that. I'm glad you said that. Well, you're doing it whether you're conscious of it or not on all levels, because those personalities of your ancestors that are connected to your DNA and your blood, they're always there. Now, the only difference is when you actually acknowledge it and start working it. And that's part of the reason to set up the altar. Now, I want to make this clear. The altar is the focal point. Is it necessary? No. But I can guarantee you if you do it, it's just going to enhance the power you already have, because that focal point, that symbol or that tool of the altar and the implements you have on it, just like if you're setting up an altar for magic, it just enhances the connection and the energy stronger. So you bring up a good point. You're always working with them, whether you're conscious of it or not. It's just when you start to acknowledge it and carry out work, now you've just made a conscious effort to be aware of it. And that's where the change comes, like Wacky Jay was just talking about earlier. Last night, the other night, Brother Taja, same thing. He was sharing a similar experience. And I'm telling you, this is something that I've been working with people with for years, and they say very similar things. So, yeah, I mean, that's another good point you bring up. That is going on, whether you're aware of it or not. It affects you.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still, I don't think I was ready. And obviously, if you're not ready to do something, well, then, you're not ready.
Right.
I'm probably not going to get results. And so I went into Tuesday, like I said, started the ancestral work. But I was thinking about it. It's like, well, wait a minute. I was probably doing it this whole time, maybe a couple of them, because there's a handful of, well, I would like to consider my personal demons, aspects of me and stuff, different characteristics, like I said. But I was like, well, maybe, one
right.
or two or a few were my ancestors coming through.
Right.
And,
Good point.
Now, let's talk about past lives, future lives. Now, what ancestors, if you look at how many times we've been here,
right,
and how many times we're still probably going to come back, so we're connecting with all ancestors. Correct.
Now, that's an excellent point. So let's tap on that real quick, because
that's a big family.
Well, here's the thing. This is where and there's one thing I teach people too, is about ancestral spirit guides, right?
Yeah.
So this is where that comes into play. You're going to find out in your work, and the awareness comes through you by doing the consistent work with it. You have many ancestral spirit guides that are connected to you via what you're talking about, past lives. Now, past lives and reincarnation, that's a very debatable and intricate topic. And I always tell people, Yeah, you can read books on it. Yeah, there's different theories on it. But the best way to really learn that, figure it out, is to raise yourself up to have your experience with it. And that comes through consistent work, doing your meditations, your rituals, visualizations, working with your ancestral altar. It opens up those doorways, those gateways. And let me give you an example. And this is an excellent question. I'm glad you bring this up. And I can only use, which I don't like to really get into too much of my personal stuff, so I'll be real short and brief. In working with the spirits, the Igun, the ancestors, what I have found out over a 20-something plus year period is particularly that manifested through different works, what we call Igun or Misa ceremonies, ancestral ceremonies, personal work, group work. I've encountered these ancestral spirit guides in the concept that you're talking about. Literally, I have if you've seen when I've ever shown pictures of my altar, I have a gladiator or warrior spirit during medieval times, for the full armor, regalia. And I've been able to tap in and actually had experiences being in war, being in battle. I'm the spirit of a monk, like a monastery monk. And I have all these images to represent a Congo spirit, which is probably one of my most, a Congo African spirit. That was one of the first ones that revealed itself to me via working with my godmother at the time. I was a whole nother, and an Indian chief spirit. Those are the four main ones that I work with. And anytime I do consultations or work with somebody, one of the first things, if they have that, that's one of the first things that'll pop out, and because it'll recognize it right off the bat. But those would be considered and will fall in the category that you're talking about. These would be ancestral spirit guides. Now, when I say guides, let me say this: not guides in a religious sense that we have to follow everything they say. I want to clarify that, because some people hear spirit guides meaning that you're waiting around for the spirit to guide you. That's not what it means. What it simply means is they give you information or a certain level of awareness that you can choose to utilize or not to help you on your path. So that's what I mean when I say spirit guides. I'm just using that as a term. They'll give you information that'll help you if you apply it in certain areas. And in essence, you are creating it. And I say this, but you are creating it because when you do the work to raise yourself up, the vibration and the frequency to connect with this energy, that opens you up to the awareness. So in essence, you did the work, you manifested, the spirit anyway. It's just, I say guide because they can give you guidance on the path that the path you're going down to try to achieve your success. So I don't want to say spirit guides in the sense, because some of them traditions that teaching in spirituality or spiritism, it can come off being a little religious, but they're spirit guides in that sense. They can give you wisdom and guidance and information that you can utilize for yourself on your path that's productive. And let me give you an example, just so we're clear, for not just for you, but for listeners, since you brought it up. It's a really good question. What do I mean by guidance? All right. You tend to start understanding, for an example, my gladiator warrior spirit. I can channel that. Like when I was angry earlier, that's that spirit. That's that spirit that senses blood, likes violence. And it helped me understand that part of my nature. I didn't know where that came from, but I found out that's a spirit that's been in, the family generation for many years. You start to find these things out. So that's that particular spirit. I understand with the temper and the anger, it's a spirit that looks for confrontation. It looks for violence. It looks for, seeking out blood, literally. And I could reflect back growing up. That stuff would always enthrall me. Like I'd be, engulfed in that shit sometimes when I got heated. Now I know where it comes from. The wisdom, the more docile, peaceful side of me, that's the Indian chief spirit. Made that clear. That's something that's kept my head right when the other spirit wants to go amok. Now the Congo spirit is a combination of both. But I also find out that's where I get a lot of my sexual energy from, because they're very sexual in nature. So I'm using all these things to describe awareness. Now, the monk, that's more of the intellectual studier. You understand, that likes to study and absorb knowledge and information, is a constant seeker of knowledge. And this is the awareness that I'm talking about. You start, you can correlate it to yourself and start. It helps you understand yourself more. So it's not guidance in the sense where they're dictating you what you need to do, where to go, and you can't do anything unless they tell you to do it. That's what I don't want people to think. That's not what it is. it gives you the guidance and the awareness to understand yourself better. So I hope that makes sense.
No, that does. And thank you for clarifying that. What I like to think, what works for me is, I say I don't have spirit guides. I have guided spirits.
Okay.
You know? So in essence, that I'm guiding myself. You know.
Right.
I'm just using it through whichever daemon or whatever.
Great.
Okay. Real quick, I don't know if anybody's trying to call in. I got a question about past lives. I don't know if this is a silly question, but you know how you can carry stuff over.
Yes.
Okay, obviously memories if you're able to tap in.
Yes.
But are you able to bring like fears with you into the next life that you're in?
Yes, and let me explain. I'm gonna use something that Dr. Delbert Blair.
Because I'm afraid of flying. I cannot fly in a plane.
Yes.
I know statistically it's the safest form of transportation, but
It is.
I just can't fly. I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe it was something from a past life.
No, that's a good question. No. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna take a page out of something Dr. Delbert Blair taught me, and some of you he elaborated on it here and there, but I actually had a conversation I had with him. He was big on past lives, reincarnation, and carrying over things from your past life to this life. There was something he also said, and again, I want to be clear as I'm talking about this. For those that need to find everything in a book, you're not going to find a lot of the stuff that I'm getting ready to say written anywhere in a book. I'm not telling you to accept it or believe it. Let me also follow it up with that. The only way, again, as I said earlier, you can come to the awareness of this is by disciplining yourself and doing spiritual work that opens you up to this awareness. That's the best way I can describe it. So I'm not telling you to accept this and accept it for face value. Then we're back to being religious again and faith and belief and dogma. So I don't want to do that. But in this conversation, in relation to what you're saying, yes, you do carry that over. We found those that have had experiences have found that out clearly in their work. I have found that out clearly in my work. We've also found this out. You tend to come back as what you hate. Let me say that again, until you master it. So, and he used this example one time. It's funny. You might have been the biggest racist when you were alive. You might come back as a black person in another lifetime, vice versa. You might have been somebody that hated being around animals or had fear of them. You might come back and be in a profession to work with them animals, because here's the theory on this spiritually. And I say theory because to those that haven't experienced it can't prove it, that's why I'm saying that. They say you keep coming back until you master all those fears. Once you've conquered all of those things that we're discussing, then you kind of make the transition on back. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Baal Kadmon about the ethers. He kind of breaks it down. You tend to transcend the ethers. And then you become a being of light and energy where you can come back, incarnate at will, and leave at will. You're not bound to this physical realm anymore. Whereas that's why people say, what's the purpose of the point of coming back? Well, when you study the esoterical and the occult, a lot of the purpose and the reason for coming back is because you have not mastered your lower desires. It could even be something as simple as the desire. You could be a glutton and you eat food all the time. You know, it could be a sexual hang-up you can't get over. It could be fear of flying a plane or other fears that are linked to it that you just may not be aware of. And yeah, on an esoterical level, this is a lot of things discussed in them circles. We learn about a lot of this too in the Rosicrucian order. When you get into the temple degrees, that there's a focus on a lot of those studies. Now, again, I want to make this clear, disclaimer. If you're somebody that needs to find something in a book, you're not going to really find it. You'll find theories on it. And the best thing I can tell you on it, and whether you believe it or not, or accept it or not, it's personal. That's really irrelevant to me. I can only really speak on it based on my experience with it. And I know from my experience with it that those things are a reality, because it's been made clear to me, you know, what I have been in past lives. So I know, but I can only speak for myself, and I don't want anybody to accept that. I don't want anybody to, you know, if you hadn't had the experience, take it as a fact, because it's personal, you know, but it's a good question, Phil. It's a really good question.
Yeah, I thought about that for the last year or so, and back in 2002, I was supposed to move out to Germany with my friend. He was married to a girl in the army, and
Right.
And I was all good to go. I mean, at the time, I didn't feel it as strong as I have over the years. I mean, I got my plane ticket and everything. I said, okay, I'll move to Frankfurt, Germany. And that fell through. But just thinking about it now, I'm not claustrophobic. It's just something. Maybe something happened. I don't know.
Nah, look, one of my fears, you say that, swimming. I can't swim. And I have this fear of deep water. But here's the bugged out thing. The bugged out thing about it is I get mesmerized. Like if I'm out on a ship near deep water, there's like a spirit that draws me in and wants me to jump into deep water. That's the crazy shit.
Oh,
yeah.
To overcome the fear?
No, I get mesmerized. I can't figure out. One thing I'm working on with that is, and that's one of the things I'm doing personal work with. When I get near deep water, knowing I can't swim, I have this urge to just want to jump in.
Wow.
And I know there's spirits in voodoo that deal with the ocean and all that. And I've connected some of it to that, to the spirits trying to call you home. They'll do that. Because like I had like intense thoughts several times being in that situation, wanting to jump in the water and then have to catch myself and realize I can't swim. You understand? It's crazy shit. I mean, it goes on them levels sometimes. And I'm saying that in relation to your flying thing.
I don't. I mean, that you're always going on another level. I don't get no urge to.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the weirdest shit.
Or skydiving, something like that. Now, I just see, and before they always say, overcome your fears, go through it.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Let me go through. I want to go fly. I want to overcome it. Heck no. Now I ain't flying nowhere.
Yeah, it's
just a fear. Hey, I have some fears, and I can admit it. That's one of them.
But that's okay, and but that's good because that's step one.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing. I can fly in my mind all the time. I'll get an airplane in my mind and go wherever.
There you go.
But to physically do it, no.
Hey, that's all good, man. It don't make you any better or worse than anybody else, man.
Oh yeah. We all got our struggles on some type of level,
So you drive everywhere then when you travel?
Yeah. I just.
What about bus or train? Do you travel train at all?
No, I mean I've taken the Metrolink and that thing flies. But I'd be open to take a train, that'd be cool.
It's the air thing. I got you. All right.
Man. Yeah. It's just something. It's just being up, and it's just, I don't scare myself watching videos of plane crashes or hearing the last words of the pilots. I don't watch any of that stuff. I don't know, man. It's just something. It's like almost like I get goosebumps just thinking about it. And that's not me. I don't create fears like that. So it's something just probably within me now. Over the couple of years, I'm tapping more and more within myself. Maybe there's something there that
it'll come.
More aware of,
it'll definitely come. You keep plugging at it, you'll get the answer specifically to what it is you're fearing. It'll come. So keep plugging at it. You should at least get an understanding of it. So I wouldn't just totally ignore it altogether. Now you might let me tell you why. You might have found out in a past existence, you might have perished in a plane crash. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Right. So anytime the thought of it or you get near it or even think about it, it activates, that past life or the awareness of it. You'll find there's a strong connection to that too. So that could be one. I'm not saying that's what it is, but that could be a strong possibility.
Yeah. And then at the time I told you about the experience when I OD'd at that party and I experienced nothing. I feared death for the longest time for years. I feared it. Right. I didn't want to experience that again. That was traumatic. I still remember that like it was yesterday.
I'm sure that was from the way you described it.
That's just something I have to, I would have to overcome that,
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That's just, wow.
Yeah, most definitely.
Quite an experience, man. I'm 17 years old. Wow, that was a lot for me.
Yeah, well, the key is as long as you learn from the experience. Now, if you don't learn from it, then you seem like
it's just going to repeat itself.
But you learn from it, and that's something.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, you never check out that movie, Welcome to Morrowind?
No, I have not. Several movies.
Even if you just watch the trailer on YouTube, it's cool how the guy created all these energies, I guess in his imagination, he was like bullied and he just,
yeah, I got to check it out. Actually, one of my plans.
That's really cool, man.
one of my plans, I got a list. I haven't, it's been a couple weeks now. But one of my plans for this weekend is to actually, I'm just going to have me a fucking movie day. That's one of my plans. I really need to just sit back and, cause I got all those, different, APK apps. I got everything. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch anything, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, well, I haven't actually watched the movie, but just watching the trailer, I mean, you get it where it's at. So I mean, yeah, when I do get a chance, I will watch it. I know it'll probably be on Netflix or something. I haven't searched it, but
I'm sure it's on one of the feeds.
Just like I'm sure you've seen Jacob's Ladder. I mean, it's kind of
I've seen Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, that's a trip.
All right, I'm definitely going to check that out.
Well, okay, that's
right.
it. You answered my questions. I appreciate it. You know, definitely give me the answer, or should I say, I answered myself too.
You did. You answered part of your question. You did.
But you definitely give me some insight. You know, something to work on.
Cool.
You know.
Cool.
All right, brother. All right. I appreciate it. Until next time. Take care, brother.
All right. Cool. Appreciate it, Phil. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Cool. All right, people. Try to get back to this chat. Unless somebody call in. All right. Yeah, Straight Path. I know you was at work earlier. All right, what else we got? Yeah, I'm glad Susie called in. I'll be talking to you on Sunday. Oh, somebody else called. Now everybody want to fucking call, man. All right. Peace. Where you calling from and what's your name?
Hey, it's Brother Duma from Maryland.
Duma. What's up, man? What's going on, man? What's going on with these?
Listen to the show. It's been a kind of crazy night.
Yo, son, let me tell you something, son. This has been the craziest. I ain't never seen all this haywire shit. You know, I don't know how long you've been tuned in for the most part, or you've been in and out, or what?
I've been tuned in for the most part. So every time the thing would freeze, I would reboot, thinking it was on my end or something like that. Because sometimes my internet is funny too. But I have Comcast. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
My AT&T, like I said earlier, man, I'm about to call them up and dig into their ass because they've been telling me like the last time, they were doing some. Let me give you an example. They were doing some repair work, but what we're noticing is it's all through periods throughout the day. There has these periods where you lose it, and it's a consistent thing. And I'm tired of it, man. I'm just going to tell them, like, you guys got to do something about this shit because I don't know why the fuck I'm paying you guys anything, and the shit just keeps disconnecting. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But it's been pretty informative what Baal was dropping.
Oh yeah.
So I've just got into the book. I just got it on Saturday, so I'm just getting into it.
Yo. It's some shit in there, man. If you've even scanned through it, you know.
Yeah.
It's on a whole nother level because he taking you to the essence and the origin of these things. You know, it's not surface information, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's definitely dropping it now because just like his Tiamat Unveiled book, I've read a little excerpts from that, but I'm looking at getting that too. But he's definitely dropping them a lot more information than he usually does, just to give you background on stuff before he gives you a whole lot of rituals. So I'm been excited about that.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a good point. Like obviously this is the thickest book lengthwise that he's written, because a lot of his other books, and I think it's a great thing. And when I say that they're simple, not that they're simple in the sense that the information is simplistic, but he keeps the format in a lot of his other books very simple and easy to carry out. Whereas I think this book is a little more intricate. It's a little more detailed. There's a lot more research in it. So you got to apply a little bit more of the critical thinking, in my opinion. I think it's a great work. And like I say, man, all the shit that was happening, it's funny how now that that's done, not losing the internet, none of that shit. And like I said earlier,
yeah, it's crazy.
Well, some of it couldn't be identified. There was some crazy shit going on in addition to a couple of assholes and a particular asshole that I was mentioning earlier, which like I said, I'm gonna handle that. But there was a combination of both of that going on. So that's what all the issues were. It's like I say, man, you know, when you're making an effort and, you know, you're trying to step out and get certain things out there, you got, you know, the powers that be and idiots, physical idiots that, you know, try to stop it. That's all. But there was some, not to sound spooky, because, you know, anybody knows me, I'm always looking for the basic explanation before you go to Spookville. But there was some things going on that we couldn't figure out. So there was some things at play there. And then there was a bunch of idiots in addition to that who were piggybacking off of that, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, what else you got for us, brother?
Yeah, so like I told you, I got the new ancestor also set up.
Cool.
I got that straight. I got the bath. I got a Santa Morte bath and a roll opener bath. I couldn't decide which one to get, so I just got both of them.
That's all right. So, that's okay. Now, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. Because either one is fine, because remember the work that you're carrying out with that is road opening work. So it's charged with the same energy in addition to what, you know, you're going to add to it and, you know, and charge it up with, because as long as it's in the theme and working with the energy of opening roads and paths. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my statue, and I got some of her implements. It's a couple other little things that should be coming tomorrow.
Cool.
As far as the Dragon's Blood ink that'll be coming in tomorrow.
Cool.
So I'm set to take this full throttle.
And I'm glad.
Get over the hump of breaking barriers.
I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad to hear you and others calling in and actually taking these steps to do work personally for yourself. Because shit, I can't stress enough, this path is work. Okay, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. And that's why I kind of earlier when I was going off, we got a lot of phonies in this path. Okay, just it's no different in all those other conscious groups that exist. You got your fucking cronies, your imitators, your wannabes, your people that are there for social club, because it's the end thing that exists. And that's why, you know, you heard me mention that earlier and on other videos in the last couple of weeks. Don't think because somebody's on this path they got their shit together. They could be just as bad as one of those hoteppers who faking the funk. It's no different. We got that. There's a lot of that going on, unfortunately. You know, like I say, they're internet occultists. You know, they're internet left-hand path people. You know, they pick up a book here and there and they think they mastered the shit, but they ain't got no body of work to support or prove anything that they do. That's the shit that I don't let go under the radar no more. Fuck that. Because I have no problem. You know, anybody asks for my credentials, I have no problem providing them as long as it's done in taste. But if you're going to get stupid and ignorant, I also ain't got no problem putting my foot in your ass. That's just how it works. And it's not about, again, you know, just talking, you know, again, saying it's about actual carrying out work. So I'm glad to hear you, others calling in. And I'm glad, I say glad to hear, because it's a great feeling when I listen to you guys say you personally did it. Number one, and number two, to hear that you're getting results just confirms.
Yeah.
That's all. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, so I've just been enjoying the night, enjoying the build, and I'm going to continue, and I'm definitely signing up for the class soon.
Okay. Cool.
Just to get into that.
Yeah, well, like I say, you know, for you and for anybody listening, the online classes that begin March 23rd, if you look in the email, and hopefully everybody that requests the information that sees in the email, you know, you have time to register and pay up until the day before the class. I work with people on that. So, you know, I always tell people to come, especially if I know you. Now, if I don't know you, that's a different story. I can't, but you know, once I develop a relationship with you, you know, I'm fair. I work with people. But business is business, and But I know I know you. But that's I'm not talking that to you. But you get some people that mistake your kindness for weakness, and I'm not that dude. I'm sorry. That's just the way it works.
I know how it is.
Oh, I know from your background. I know you know. That's right. So, but yeah, you just keep me posted. I mean, it'd be nice to see you in the session. I think you most definitely would get a lot of that. But it's good to see all the other people and interact, and we're all there together, and we're able to do work together. I incorporate a lot of things. We're able to actually do live while we're all together. It's amazing what you can do when you connect. So I try to use this internet thing to my full advantage, in addition to when people physically come here. But so it'd be nice if we see you in there. It'd be great, man.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's one of the main goals right now. Cool. Just to take my whole thing to another level. Like I've seen a couple of with the one brother who had some of the testimonials from your classes on YouTube.
Brother Gene. Yeah, he's a good brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I stumbled across that. He didn't send me. I had just stumbled across it, and I said, "Oh, this is pretty cool." So I figured I'd post it, and I said, let me just post this and tell the brother thanks. Appreciate him doing that. And honest, that's an honest assessment. You know what I mean? That's what he said is the goal. Again, I'm not just fucking look. If you're taking the class, this ain't just about books. Okay. It goes way deeper than that. And anybody that's taking the class knows the shit that we do in the class is, there's books that we use as a criteria for certain things, but it goes way beyond the books, because anybody can read fucking books. So you're not taking a class just to give you shit you can get on your own. And I'm saying that for those that experience the class, they know what I'm talking about, because there's personal things we do that's not, again, it's not written in a book. So anyway, but I appreciate that.
All right. Thanks a lot, Brother B. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you calling in. Thanks. All right, people. What else we got? Still trying to come down from my hypeness. Let me see what maybe I get some more questions in the chat unless somebody calls in. I have no idea where the fuck I left off. So go figure. Let me see if I can find it, though. All right. Yeah, I left off here with John's sugar levels. So let me pick up after that. All right, let's see if there's any other question. Only typed in earlier at 10:42, is about an hour ago. That's why I'm a different type of E for devotee. I do everything that resonates and gets. Yeah, let me say this too. Even though that might be one of Oni's areas of interest, it's not coming from that spooky mainstream EFA perspective. And again, I know that from experience. So I'm glad she points it out. But anyway, you'll get to know a little bit more. If you weren't on the call earlier, she called in briefly. She will be on the show on March 21st. So, and if you hear her vibe and her energy, she's no nonsense. So it's going to be a little different vibe. It's going to be that straight, kick it in your face type of vibe. Next week, you definitely don't want me to put this out there before I forget, which I'll post it and everything. It's up there, but I'll send a reminder. We're going to have Priestess Asit Amin-Ra on the show next week. So you don't want to miss that. Trust me when I tell you. You definitely want to tune in for that. Because I've said over the last several weeks, I really think she's one of the few females out there that's no nonsense, no chaser. And it's not about male or female, in my opinion, with her. I just simply think it's about an individual, regardless, that teaches and breaks the shit down. And I'm not going to be one of them dudes that still creates that separation and classification, because that's a problem on this path too, where any female that teaches on this path, it's always got to be some sexualness connected to it. And though that's part of it, that's cool, but it's not the only part. Sometimes let's just take it, for what it is. We tend to do that sometimes on this path and create that separation. So, but anyway, check her out. That's coming up this Thursday. It's going to be a good show. All right, what else we got? Yep. Yeah, the gunpowder. You'll find that in a lot of different rituals. They'll do that in Palo with it could be with Ogun and sometimes in Ifa. You'll see it also. I had a similar experience with the gunpowder in Palo with Sarabanda. Yeah. So there's you go through shit. But there'll be some things we could pick on his brain about. Yeah, John Travacchino made a comment earlier. Freedom from religion. Yeah, and I was talking about earlier. Man, I mean, people in general, you still see with a lot of people. I'm not just talking about people. I'm talking about people also on this path. They're still very religious in nature in their approach. Now, I'm just expressing that if you're still aesthetic and religious in some forms and it works for you, power to you. But it sometimes can be a mentality and a method that holds you down and you're not even aware of it. But earlier, I was more so speaking about, this topic in general, worldwide, all over these different platforms. We're still arguing over stupid shit. Who cares? Because at the end of the day, it ain't doing nothing to fix anything. Okay, we're arguing and fussing and fighting over this stupid ass shit. It ain't improving your life on any level. It's not putting money in your pocket. It's not paying your damn bills. It's not making your life better. It's not boosting your business, whatever the fuck it is. So who gives a shit? All it does is create hate, separation, and violence and starts wars all over the globe. That's the reason why the world is in a fucking mess, because of goddamn religion. And if it's not, I'm not just talking about religion on the surface. I'm talking about the other fools that use it as an agenda to hide behind. How many world governments use it as an agenda to fucking hide behind? It's a perfect veil and a curtain to fucking brainwash and mind control people. And that's the first thing on this path. Religion's out the door. Out the fucking door. Until you can let go of that poison and sickness, nothing will change for you. And I've seen it. All right? Brother Phil says he's been labeled an atheist, devil worship, Satanist, etc. Oh, wow. It's a great compliment. You should tell him thank you for the compliment. Trying hard to figure me out. Yeah, keep reaching. Now, even in the book, the area in Baal Kadmon's book, the area of the aspects of Satan, which I think is a great area. He even breaks down the word Satan as adversary, something I've been pumping for the longest, right? Adversary, right? Just like when he used the word unholy to describe the Sitra Akra, it wouldn't mean, see, I wanted to go over that because people will hear that word and they automatically correlate it to something that's not, anti what's holy anyway. Think about that for a minute. But it was only used in the sense as anti-religion, because religion would classify it as holy. When he was breaking down the Sitra Akra and Samuel and Lilith, he was explaining all that. So that's why I had brought it up. And I thought it was a beautiful thing the way it was explained in the book. So yeah, that's a great compliment for somebody to call you all those things. It shows that you definitely are on the right path. Yeah, and again, I know people were asking about the book earlier. You can get Baal Kadmon's book is available on multitude of platforms. Digital, you can get it on Kindle. Amazon carries all of his books in the hard copy and the Kindle. And I know he mentioned, John had asked earlier about, is it on Nook? He said some of his books are, but he did say the new book is not available on the Nook device if you have Nook. So yeah. Yeah, we all fighting retardation of ignorance to a degree. All right. What else we got? Okay, hold on. Going down the chat, see if I get to the rest of this. I think Nikki, I thought I saw a question up there. I might have missed one of your questions earlier. I think I did. Hold on. That's the thing. Yeah, it jumped. I'm not sure. I think I missed a question of yours up here. That's what I meant to go back to. Hold on. Let me see if I missed it. Maybe not. Maybe I was seeing things and shit. The fuck. Let's see. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Nah, I know I missed something. It was something you said up here. Hold on. I know I ain't seeing things. I saw this shit. Hold on. So now I'm on a mission to find it. All right, maybe not. Maybe I am seeing things. Maybe it's down here. All right, so here's a question from John. When building an altar, what direction do you recommend? It don't matter. Most people will say east. It's not really mandatory or necessary. A lot of people in dark magic will do the north because the north represents darkness. And Set is a representation of that. If you belong to a Masonic lodge, they don't do any work in the northern part of the lodge because they say it represents darkness. But I think they got it backwards. But reason why I say that it's irrelevant because the earth is constantly rotating on its axis. So what really is true north, south, east, or west? A black magician can work regardless. The altar could be facing southwest, southeast, northeast. I say that because when we cast the Hermetic Circle, the 8-pointed star of chaos, we are pulling those chaotic energies from every one of those points or directions. So, but if you feel like in your mind, a lot of the traditional aspects will say east because the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And there's a significance and a science in that. If you even go into the major monotheistic religions, when you go into the book of Daniel, I believe it's the 12th chapter, the Hebrews pray and face the east. There was this energy thing connected with it. The Muslims make their prayers facing Mecca, facing the east, the Kaaba and all this shit. I think it's personal when you understand this path and you alleviate some of the mythology and the traditions. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is if you know how to work your craft, it's not going to affect the power of your magic or not, unless you really start to accept that in your mind if your altar is not facing a specific direction. So in essence, wherever you got it set up in whatever particular area or room, whatever's the most convenient and most appealing area to you. If it happens to be the east, so be it. But I think mine right now, I got my main one facing, actually it is facing the east, but that's just by coincidence. I didn't really plan it that way. But it depends. It's personal. So that would be my answer to that question. Now, there might be others that differ from that, but basically the only way they can validate if they have a specific direction, it's based on some type of tradition. All right. All right. Where else we at? I know I saw a question from her. I know I ain't bugging. Yeah, I'm glad to see Susie called in earlier. Right. Getting through it. Okay, this is the question I saw. I was down here. All right, Nikki Bay had asked, damn, she was an hour ago. How can I suggest the metaphysics and occult to someone? All right, a lot of people ask that question, introducing any system of spirituality to someone. I would say step one, never force it on somebody. You don't want to be over aggressive. I'm just going to tell you from experience. I think the best way to introduce it to somebody or suggest, you got to feel that person out, number one. Number two, get a good feel and an understanding of where they are at in their spiritual journey. All right. Why am I saying that? Why is that important? If you're talking to a sanctified, be saved Christian and you know it, you see it, you sense it, you feel it, that's probably the person you may not want to just suggest it to right off the bat. Don't mean that person, you can't, there's a way you might want to throw things in there in a way that they can relate. So you wouldn't want to be talking to a religious person. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to show you other examples because it's a good question, but sometimes people mess up in this area. So if I'm talking to a super religious person, I'm not going to use hardcore terminology like, vampirism and black magic and Semitic, because that's going to spook them the fuck out. What you can focus on is maybe some of the things that they believe. You might want to focus on giving them a different perspective, how to look at some of these Bible passages and their religious beliefs, in a very respectful way. Like some of the things we were discussing earlier. That's how I would approach it. Now, sometimes you encounter that person that's just an open vessel. They're open. They're not, they're not really anything. So then you could probably be a little bit more to the point. So I'm saying all that to say is feel the person out, get an understanding for where they are in their spiritual journey. Don't, just because you're somewhere, that's a mistake I see all the time. Don't try to bombard somebody with the shit that you know. And I'm not saying this to you, Nikki. I'm just speaking in general. I would just say, proceed with an awareness. And with the awareness, you'll be able to feel out, just know who you're talking to in essence. I also see this mistake a lot with people trying to quote unquote convert their relatives and friends. And what they do is make more enemies. Just because you might be on this path, this may not be the path for all your relatives and friends. And forcing it on them is just going to chase them away. So I always tell people the answer to that is to draw them or suggest it or have them develop an interest in it is by your example. What do I mean by that? Well, if they're looking at you and they see you living a productive life, you got, you're working, you got a business, say if you got a family, your family's well taken care of, if you got children, they're very, respectful children, etc. Just by your example, they may not at first agree, quote unquote, with what they think is negative or wrong, but then they say, damn, they're a well-rounded person. Let me see what it is they know. So that might be a way of sparking interest, but I would say the most important thing is just feel out who you're talking to. And then they're going to be honest with you. There's sometimes where it's just not for everybody. Sometimes you get the vibe where I wouldn't even fucking waste my time with this person. Because sometimes it's pointless. Some people are so deep in their ignorance and their bullshit, it's just a waste of time to even, that's just a reality. I don't care what anybody says. I know other paths are trying to save the whole fucking world, but remember, we're not trying to save nobody on this path. You understand? That's not what our job should be, anybody. If you can educate and bring some people along in the process, power to them. If they don't, and they fall to the wayside, we don't give a fuck. Because our mind isn't focused on saving anything or anybody but ourselves. Because step one, first law in the universe is self-preservation. If your shit ain't right, you can't help nobody anyway. You're useless. Not only to yourself, but you're useless to everybody else, right? And yeah, Phil kind of commented right after, like, your results. And yeah, that's another good example, your results. And again, by the way, you carry yourself. The example you said, that's gonna draw their interest. Like, give you an example. Your results can be manifested in your lifestyle. They might say, damn, they got some nice cars. Damn, keep their houses fucking fly. It's off the chain. Or damn, every time I see them, they got some new fucking gear on. Damn, their kids. So then that might spur the interest. Say, what the fuck are they doing that I'm not doing? You understand? So they're going to know that you're tapped into them. So that's another way. There's many ways to go about it. The only way you don't want to go about it, and I see it sometimes, and it's fucking pathetic. Don't be all egotistical trying to jam and ram shit down people's throat and force them. That doesn't work. Just chases them away. Makes them not interested at all. That's something people do in religion and other stupid ass ridiculous systems. Ear itch. I hate when you get that ear itch. It's like, ugh. Anyway, so hopefully that helps. Todd put some more good advice in relation to Nikki's question. I see So I'm just going to read it anyway. It all depends on how you think, feel, and how they react. Exactly. I don't say anything until ask for help, then go from there. That's another good point. Yeah. And again, that's all part of the feel them out. Know who you're talking to. Because like I say, I get the vibe sometimes, and I say right off the bat, like I wouldn't even think about talking to this person about anything in relation to that. So I think everything that everybody's saying is connected in general to what we're talking about. Just be very aware of who you're talking to. And you'll get the vibe. You'll know, all right, this is a person that I could possibly start excuse me. Oh, wow. Now I'm getting tired. A dialogue with. And then when you get that feeling like, oh, this is a person I can start a dialogue with, then yeah, then go ahead. But man, sometimes I get, like I say, I get them people where I was just like, no, I wouldn't even waste my time, man. Fuck that. Wacky J says consistent. That's something I'm focusing. We all should be focused on that all the time. Consistency leads to results. People go, how do I get results? Consistency. If you're consistent in your work, and this is the other thing we got to get out of our mind. Don't get frustrated. What do I mean by that? I gotta grab me some damn water. Hold on. Damn mouth is so dry. Okay, what do I mean by that? When you're working spells, magic, rituals, or you're doing specific work in areas of your life for improvement, don't get frustrated when it doesn't happen right off the bat. That's what happens. And anybody that promotes this path as a fix-all right on the spot, can that happen sometimes? Yes, I've seen it happen. There's instances where you tap in right away. I'm not saying it can't happen. It can happen. But I'm not talking about those scenarios. I'm talking about the scenarios where people get frustrated because they might do it once or twice and nothing happens. There's no consistency in that. And sometimes you're working on an area in your life that needs a lot more attention and time. So your financial problems might be a little more complicated than one candle magic ritual. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or your sexual frustration problems might be a lot more intense than one or two workings or et cetera. You got to understand that when you work this path, right? You can attest to that one by the results or lack thereof. And I explained in candle magic, for an example, because candle magic is a tool used in a lot of that work. If you know how to read candles and understanding what the messages that the candles are conveying, the way they burn down, the images that are left on the glass, the residue, all that is the spirits are speaking to you and communicating to you what exactly you got going on, to the extent of if it's intense or not intense. Clean burns is usually a sign that that area is improving or is working in your life. You'll notice when you're working candle magic, when you see that, you're getting the results. But if you're burning candle magic and them candles are always dark, black, and musky, you get all that chalk, that soot residue. It's usually trying to communicate something to you that you need more work in that area. But people get frustrated. They do it once or twice. I ain't getting no results. Well, you ain't getting no results because you ain't consistent in anything you do. It's just like when I do spiritual work for clients, it could be spell work or et cetera. You got to tell them, man, look, you got to also, you heard Bullcore Rodney Coleman talking about it when he was on the show, which, by the way, he'll be back March 14th. You got to also assist in doing the work. You got to charge it with your will and intent, even if you have a spiritualist making the implements for you. And that's one thing I tell clients when I'm doing work with them. It's even though I might put implements together and things to work with, it's still you that holds the power because you got to keep charging up with your will and intent. And that's important to understand with magic, period. Whether you're working with something, implements, or you're doing something exclusively on your own, it's irrelevant. The point being is if you're not consistent and you ain't fueling it with that intent, it's not going to work. Okay? And that applies to anything. But people just get frustrated. Man, I did this ritual too. Nothing happened. Well, shit. If life was that fucking easy, I told you, this ain't a snap your fingers and it's going to fix all your problems. It's not going to do that. Anybody that tells you that's full of shit and they don't know what they're talking about, right? And it's a little deeper than just, I can just use the power of my mind. Yeah, you can use the power of mind. That's not the issue. But the issue is the work comes in. I won't say issue. The work comes in developing the tools to get the mind at that level. That's the challenge. That's the job. That's the work. That's why you set out to do what you do, to get your mind to that state. Okay. Yeah, so 305 Capricorn. I made a comment. I drowned in my past life. This lifetime, that's my worst set. Yeah. And I've come to the conclusion that because I have a terrible fear of deep water, I can't swim. Not even motivated to learn. Just the thought of being in deep water is terrifying. And when we're talking about these things, past life regressions, past lives in general, I want to make it clear, like I was talking about earlier, you got to understand a lot of this stuff is something you got to discipline yourself up and raise yourself to the awareness. You're not going to find a lot of this stuff written in books. And that's another problem we got with a lot of people, these people that are looking. And the thing I laugh about, you're finding it in a book written by a person. At what point did that person become the sole authority, right? Authority, author, authentic, right? There's those play on words again. At what point did the author become the sole authority on the topic? Because they're writing from their personal experience. So it kills me with all these people, these people that are so caught up in finding sources all the time. Now, when you're dealing with mathematics, when you're dealing with science and history, yeah, you can do that to an extent. But sometimes there's things that take place on the spirit or with the spiritual realm that don't really have explanation for. Some people might call that pseudo, call it what you want. I couldn't give a fuck, because just because you can't fact check it in one of your little books or one of your little, sources doesn't mean it's not a reality. It just means it's not a reality to you. And that's okay, because you shouldn't accept anything you can't confirm. That's okay. But at the same token, you may not want to be judgmental of something you have no knowledge of. That's where it becomes a problem. All right. What else we got? And there's a good comment by Wacky J. He says, yeah, man, I can only express tremendous amount of clarity since doing the ritual work. It really brings in an understanding and a harmony going forward. And that's the point. The purpose of ritual is to transform. To transform what? To transform yourself. If you're not growing and changing, then you're not doing any type of work. And that's the results, confirming the results. Everybody that's been calling in for the last couple of weeks in relationship to what they might have gotten together with me in their personal sessions, growth, change, work. That's the whole point. To hear people say that shows they're getting the results. That's the key. And as long as that's happening, and then what starts to happen, you start adding to that. You start building upon that. Greater things start happening and manifesting. And that's when you're tapped in. And it's a great feeling. Once you get it going, I promise you, you're going to want to be consistent, and you're never going to want that shit. You know what I'm saying? To disappear. All right, what else we got? Damn, Regina Green, you way late. The fuck, 11:26. You must got a night job or some shit. Unless you out on the West Coast and I don't know, but damn, you late. Yeah, Todd, I live by the ocean, man. You believe that shit? Beach everywhere. But you got to remember, I'm originally from New York, and I moved out here several years ago. And the closest I got to water in New York was opening the fire hydrant and running. That's what we did. We ran through sprinklers. We were little pansies, man. We were scared of water. Nah, let me stop. We had Coney Island. We had beaches out on Long Island. We had Lido Beach, Long Beach, Point Lookout, Jones Beach, which is a beach that everybody from all over New York goes to, especially during Memorial Day and all those big 4th of July. Coney Island. I mean, but I just was never a beach person. So yeah, I mean, it was beaches in New York, but we didn't go to beaches. Like I said, the closest I got to water was the fire hydrant and a damn sprinkler. You know, either at my house or in the neighborhood somewhere. And down here, I mean, we go to the beach. Like we do drummings on the beach. I love the beach. I love the energy of the beach more so at nighttime than daytime. I think it's just such a tranquil, positive energy personally for me. When it's nighttime to hear the, you know, just to smell the sea salt, the wind and hear the water. It's a relaxing feeling for me at night. So, I mean, I like the beach. I was never fascinated with going in the middle of the day with all of the, I'm just not me, man. But yeah, I'm surrounded by beaches. Wow, John says, I don't swim either, but I enjoy flying and mountain climbing. Yeah, flying don't bother me. I actually like flying. The only thing that gets me a little nervous with flying, I'm not talking about shit. I had my worst experience. I'm gonna say this back in 2004. I've flown on a plane, I can't even count, hundreds upon hundreds, maybe thousands. It's that turbulence when the shit drops. Not that shaking that don't bother me. You know, you go through the period of the shit shake. I could deal with that. Man, I remember one time on a flight, and I think I was going to Providence, Rhode Island. I'm gonna say Providence, Rhode Island, and there was a storm, but they were, you know, I knew something was gonna happen because the pilot gets on and says, you know, we're gonna take a little diversion. We're gonna fly around the storm, but we can't completely avoid it. We're gonna just go around the tail end of it. So it's gonna be a little bumpy. I don't like hearing shit like that. But anyway, when you see the flight attendants sit down and strap themselves in, that's when you know some shit get ready to go down. Because when it's that regular turbulence, they'll walk around and do it. But man, when I saw them sit down and strap themselves in, I said, man, something is gonna be bad. Well, anyway, we drove through part of a storm, I guess if that's what you want to call it. And it's that turbulence where the plane drops altitude and oh my God, my stomach, man. I thought I was going to puke, almost shit my pants and puke. That's the only thing I can't do. And it's only happened to me once. You know, regular turbulence, don't bother me. Flying, taking off, landing, don't bother me. Man, I'll never forget it. It's that drop turbulence. That shit'll fuck you up, man. And man, you can see all the terror in everybody's face. Because I know the dude next to me was terrified. I was terrified. I looked at him. He looked at me. We were like, what the fuck? And man, I think it might have been 10, 15 minutes we went through, but that shit felt like an eternity, man. We felt like we was running through that shit for hours, man. It was only about 10 or 15 minutes, but man, it was terrifying. Anyway. Yeah, deep water spooks me too, Todd. Yeah, I've heard that before. When you fly first class and get drunk. Some people take sleeping pills and knock themselves out. So they out for the whole flight. You know, I can't sleep when I'm flying. I got to be alert and attentive. I can nod in and out, but I can never. Here's one thing you don't want to do on a plane. And I never had to this point. And I make sure. Because I can't even imagine having to do it. Never take a shit on a plane, man. I'm telling you. God damn. That damn thing is so damn tiny. So I make sure when I fly, I don't eat anything heavy. I make sure because usually I like to get early morning flights. So I don't like to drink or eat too much because I don't want to have to piss. I definitely don't want to have to take a shit while I'm up there. And them bathrooms, one, they nasty. They small as hell. And if you blow it up, shit, you got people out front usually waiting right behind you. And it's just, and they just nasty, man. So I make a rule of thumb when I travel, period, not to overeat or drink anything that's going to force me to have to get up and go to the fucking bathroom. That's one thing I must recommend. And like I said, I've been doing it all these years. I never once had to, or even came close to having to take a damn shit on the plane. I don't know how people do it, man. I couldn't shit in there, man. That shit would drive me mad. But yeah, don't take a shit on any of them damn planes. All right, what else we got? Oh, you got Spectrum. I had Spectrum in New York. So they out there in Boston too. Yeah, it was Cablevision, and then they took over, and then it was a whole bunch of fuckery. All right, so what else we got? Yeah, only the noise earlier with all the bullshit that went on. Like I said, some of it was unexplainable. There was definitely some shit at play there. But then again, you had individuals that was trying to piggyback off of it, doing stupid shit. Like I said earlier, that was a whole nother story. So, yeah. But assholes will be assholes. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up soon. I'm just trying to get to the end of this chat. I think we're almost there. Okay, John. So you did go on the Nook. Yeah, he did say that. Like you said, pretty much all his books are there except the new one. Now, that might change, because it just came out. So I have most of my digital books, I got Scribed and I got Kindle. He originally, before the book got released, a couple of weeks back, I think it was the first week of this month, he sent me the digital of it. So I had the digital of it. I was reading that for a few weeks, and then I just went and got a hard copy because certain books I got to have a hard copy. And to me, that's one of those books you want a hard copy. So I got both. I got it on Kindle and the one that he sent me, and then I got it on, hard copy. So the beautiful thing is, like I said, we'll get him back, and I could tell he was excited and amped up talking about. I mean, we'll get him back, and I'll have a little method to block out all the fucking nonsense. I'm gonna have him actually call on this line right here, and what we'll do is, unfortunately, nobody will be able to call on this line, and they can use the other line if they want to call in, or I'll have the video chat set up. I'll go on the Hangouts, and I'll have people just come in. One by one, and they could ask questions. So I'm going to eliminate the other side so we won't have that interference. So I'll have a method to attack it. I will at some point tomorrow contact him, hit him up, and see what his schedule is looking like to come back. And we'll continue our discussion on this and some other work, all right? Damn, John. Amazon fucked you up 14 times in a row. It's crazy because I use Amazon all the time, man. I got the Prime, but I use the fucking my Fire Stick. I got all, in addition, I got all my movie sites downloaded on there, all my APK apps to stream movies. I love the Amazon Music app. That's all I listen to. I can pull up anything pretty for the most part on there. I listen to it in my car, in the gym. I feed it through my Bluetooth at the house. I mean, I don't know, maybe you're just running into a bad experience, but I love Amazon, man. Amazon's like the fucking greatest thing since sliced bread. But there's a lot of fuckery going on. I have heard stories lately. There's a lot of fuckery going on. The downside I see with Amazon, sometimes the Prime is bullshit. And I'm going to tell you why. The delivery. You don't get everything in that 2-day frame. So it's like, what are you paying for? Because, I mean, I'm going to say maybe 70 to 80%. Maybe I might be pushing it. You do get in that prime time range. But man, I've had many orders that it took 3, 4, 5, 6 days to come, and they were labeled as prime delivery, 2-day. So that to me is the sucky thing about them. And you got to be careful during the holidays. We had an issue with them. You can't, obviously, delivery time is never guaranteed during those heavy weeks during the holiday. That's the downside. But damn, 14 times in a row. That's fucked up. So Wacky J, this is a good comment for him. To everybody, he thanks everybody for calling in. It slipped my mind. I appreciate the sharing, wisdom, experience, hearing from you. Assist and motivates me and bring it. Yeah, it's good when everybody dialogues, and that's another reason why it's nice for people to call in or come in live feed when it's time to ask questions. It don't have to even be a question. It could be a comment, or add something to the bill. Let your voice be heard. I want to see it because I want to see what people are grasping. It helps me too. It's like a learning tool for me too, because I can learn by listening also to other people's feedback and experience. And that's the beauty, of dialoguing. All right. Okay, we're almost there. All right. Just skipping through. I'm just looking for questions. If not, I'm gonna skip through the comments. Yeah, Wacky J referred to good video, and that's one of video I watched not too long ago by Priestess Asset Ra Amen. I'm sorry, I keep saying Amen Ra. It's just a habit. Priestess Asset Ra Amen. Why magic and the occult does not work for some people. Go check that out. It's a really good video. And again, just to plug her in, she's gonna be here next Thursday. I give her props and respect because she's one of the sisters throwing it down. She ain't one of them softy sisters, straight to the point. It's not just about girly, lady, feminine, stereotype shit. She's just about dropping them jewels, dropping that knowledge. So it's a beautiful thing. And you guys get a little taste of that. All right. Damn. Mongol. Matthew, to keep it short, and your question, what are some good rituals to increase dreams and astral projection travel? I would get some books on vampires. I'm going to throw a couple at you. I would get Father Sebastian's book, Vampire Magic. He's got some exercise and rituals in there. Second of Pep by Michael W. Ford is another really, really good book. And the Ascetian Bible. I can't remember the brother's name. Drawing a blank, but it's the Ascetian Bible. Those are some good areas or schools of thought that'll give you some good exercises, rituals for astral travel, astral projection. Also, its book. It's got some stuff in there on that. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. I'm trying to think of the dude's name. It's an older book. Shit, you guys over here. I can't think of the what's his name? He wrote Egyptian Magic, old school dude from a while back. God, can't think of his name. I'm drawing a fucking blank. But I would check those. The ones that I just mentioned. He gets there's in-depth rituals and exercises one can do. In the second of Pep, he has a detailed step-by-step exercise on how to obtain the astral travel or to increase dreams. There's a little jewel I'm gonna throw at you. Increase dreams. It's good to do with rituals with gatekeeper deities, deities that bridge the gaps, etc. Here's one little trick that works effectively. All right, and I'm gonna throw this jewel out there. I might have mentioned it one time in the past. One thing I find very effective to open that communication and the experience of your dreams, I'll take a small image of Ampu or Anubis, who is, affiliated with the quote unquote underworld or the spiritual realm or spiritual bowl, whatever the fuck you want to call it, get you happy. Keep an image, close to your bed by your nightstand, whatever it may be. And then do a little personal invocation before you go to sleep. I'll say something like, I access the power of Ampu to make me open and receptive as I go into my state of slumber and travel spiritually tonight. Convey to me whatever messages need to be conveyed to me that I need to know. Make me receptive to those messages, etc. I'm just giving you something along that line. Say a personal invocation like that. I guarantee you just a little short working like that is going to open them door and enhance them dreams, because you're activating the ample energy of your psyche. Because a lot of people, you dream constantly, whether you're conscious of it or not. It's just sometimes you can't recollect it. And ample helps with that. That's a gatekeeper, is a road opener. It kind of connects this realm, quote unquote, with that realm. You can do it with Papa Legba if you so choose. Any one of those type of deities, I would create your own little personal invocation working with them, and I guarantee you'll be able to access that. All right. Now, Darth Vader, and a good question. The characters Darth Vader and Palpatine. As we know, Darth Vader was a student. So you can look at that in a couple of different ways, right? Now, when you understand the story from the trilogy, try to keep this short for the sake of time. When you understand the story of the trilogy, when you look at, all right, when we were breaking down the aspects of Satan, right? I would kind of symbolically, if you looked at the two side by side and compared it, they're both manifestations, okay, in essence of what we call the dark side. They both represent that Prince of Darkness energy, right? But Darth Vader had weaknesses, right? Darth Vader, because when you understand the trilogy, when he was younger and he came first upon the Sith path to avenge the death of his wife, which technically was considered a weakness when you look at the whole story. So I think with the rule of two, when you understand the Sith, I think Palpatine preyed upon his strengths, but used his weaknesses to enhance his strengths for his own personal benefit, meaning Palpatine. But so there was an agenda at play there. But what they both represent to me, I look at it, one, Darth Vader was a aspect of the Prince of Darkness, where Palpatine to me really embodied as a whole more so of what the Prince of Darkness represented. I think symbolically it represented to me Darth Vader was a manifestation of a lesser aspect, because he still had some emotional things. Remember then he was obsessed with finding Luke Skywalker. So he had some frailties and weaknesses, in my opinion, anyway, from what we know of Palpatine and what's written of him in the trilogy, etc. He would be the actual direct embodiment symbolically of what we know as the Prince of Darkness. And I think Darth Vader is just a lesser manifestation of that. It's my opinion. Now, people might have other interpretations. That's the way I perceive it. And I look at it, Darth Vader is kind of us, because the reason why I say us is because we have that power. We know by nature that's who we are, but sometimes we'll let our lower or weaker selves dominate and take over, and then it holds us back and stunts our growth. And that's in essence, in my opinion, what I see, with that character in general. All right, what else? Okay, so one was at the bottom there. Powerful being. What is your words about overcoming doubt, if doubt exists? Well, doubt is self-created. It does exist only to the individual that manifests it and conjures it up. I think it's personal, it's individualistic, and it only exists when you bring it up. And like, for an example, if you're doing work, if you're studying, or you're setting out to accomplish something, or even let's apply it to something basic as playing a sport. If you start doubting yourself, oh, I don't think I'm that good. You start to accept that in your mind that you're not that good. And then the doubt becomes a reality. So in my thing is, you're only overcoming yourself, because in my opinion, doubt is self-created. When the individual brings it into existence by saying, I doubt I can do that, or I doubt that will happen, or I doubt that's going to really play it, whatever. You have now given it power by your words and your thoughts. So it becomes a reality when you start accepting it as a reality based on your verbiage, the way you carry yourself. And your thoughts is probably the most important part because they carry the most energy, the most weight. So though you may not be professing it verbally and people don't know you might be doubting a certain situation, but your inner voice, your real you, could be getting programmed and saying, like if you're setting out to accomplish a task, you're saying in your mind to yourself, man, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this. That's creating doubt. So it's self-created in my opinion. So when you say if doubt exists, not on a superficial level, when I say a superficial level where there's this thing called doubt and it applies to everybody the same way, no, that's not a reality. But I do think it does exist and it's self-created per the individual. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, what else we got here? Matthew Watson has a funny ass question. Do witches really flying on brooms? I've heard some stories. Is it just spooky crap or legit? I don't know because I'm not sure exactly what stories you have heard. Not sure. I mean, I know people can take flight on many different forms. Now, literally, physically, and not on an astral or spiritual level, I don't know. I'm not sure of the stories you heard. So couldn't really tell you if it's legit or not. Jonathan Kirkland, tell him, okay, Baal Cavan's book on Solomonic magic. Yeah, he's got a lot. Look, those that are familiar with him, it seems like a majority of you people are familiar with him. He's got some great books out. I mean, I like him, and the reason why I've reached out to him to come on, and again, we're going to get him back. I think he's well-rounded. He touches on every aspect of the occult. He messes with everything, and he's thorough with it, and that's what I like. That's what I'm about. I have the same approach. I'm not with just being exclusive to one or two or three different things. I like to combine all this shit because it's all connected, and I think he does a great job of that. I think the work that he has in the book, the rituals, and some of the things you can do in the book are phenomenal, especially when you add your own personal twist on it and kind of add your own little flavor to it. It can become, even more powerful. Like one, as I mentioned to him when he was on, one book that I use frequently is the Kali Mantra Magic book, man. I use that shit a lot. And you heard him talk about mantras, and I wanted him to explain that he incorporates mantras a lot in his work and how beneficial it's been. And I can attest because I use a lot of mantras, especially in the rituals we do down here. And I'll change it up and use it on different levels. But people that have come here know we do a lot of group mantras and the ritualistic work we do because I believe that vibration and frequency, when you hit it in unison and you're all resonating, it opens up levels of awareness. And that's why I had asked him, does it take you to higher states of consciousness? You heard his answer. It definitely does. And I think it's a beautiful thing when you master that art, because there's power in it, and the tones and the vibrations and the frequencies. It starts to alter your vibration, and it speeds up your vibrational rhythm, and you become aware. What we notice when we do it a lot is when you start doing it at first, you're conscious to an extent of the group in the room, but then it sounds like you get locked in and it just sounds like there's thousands of people there simultaneously in harmony. That's because you've reached a certain pitch. When I say a pitch, it's everybody's hit that same octave simultaneously, and it just opens up these portholes and these dimensions and these energy grids where what we're terming these spirits of energy, they start to come through, where people start to see things, hear things, etc. As real. So yeah, the mantras are powerful. Jonathan Kirkland. Yeah, the Temple of the Vampire. I don't know much about it. I have perused it a little bit. What I have scanned. Yeah, they do The TOV, matter of fact, Father Sebastian came through the TOV and he talks about it. He speaks very highly of it. So I know little about it. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know a lot about it. But from what information I have scanned. I found, you're right. A lot of the information is definitely, on point when it comes. Same thing with the Order of Asekar, the Semitic Bible. I think they're pretty thorough in that area too. All right. Yeah, and Dank Wizard, Sith Alchemy is the shit, no doubt. All right, so that's it. I'm at the bottom, people. I know this was a long night. Damn, been on this bitch for 4.5 counting the show. All right, but anyway, appreciate it. Again, crazy night with the malfunctions, but we got through it. We'll get Baal Kadmon back. I'll reach out to him tomorrow, and I will find out exactly when we can get him back on. You heard him say he wants to come back. He wants to come back on. I'll set a date, and we will get him back on. For those that'll be here next week, Priestess Ra Ammon will be here. Don't forget that. We have on Tuesday, I'll be back with another live feed, maybe sometime before. I'm not sure. I doubt it. I did send the flyer out for the ritual at the end of the month, March 29th. If you are coming, prepare for that. Other than that, if anybody needs to contact me for a consultation or a reading, or you want information for online classes, hit me up at the email in the description box, khnum19@gmail.com. That's all I got for you tonight, people. Peace, love, hair grease, bacon, beans, turkey, avocados, and all that good shit. All right? Peace.